Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Celestial Cup. My name is Dia, and I'm joined by Thousand Eyes as we have the unique privilege, Thousand Eyes, of
Mhm.
jumping into not just week eight, not just any old week eight, but the penultimate week of the season.
Absolutely. Teams have been fighting it out the entire season. EOS has won a lot of those games, but do think we will have a different winner today. I'm gonna put it
I
out there.
don't think
I
so.
That's cool of you to think. I think you're wrong. I think we're gonna get somebody different today, and I am excited to see it because once again we have a lot of really good teams. Obviously, EOS really solid and have been doing well. They've won 3 of the 7 weeks so far, but we have seen teams like Loch Nessies get a lot better. LNW as well. Vernier is always capable of popping off. There are so many good teams here that this, I think, could be anybody's week.
It certainly could be, and I think that the consistency of EOS is something that makes me a little bit more in their camp when it comes to the performances today. And I'm not already postulating a winner. It's a little bit of fun and games to just call out EOS at the very start of the broadcast. But the
Mhm.
fact that they've been able to not only find themselves wins on multiple weeks, but actually even in their bad games, still perform relatively well is very heartening. I think the biggest threat to that has certainly been just last week in week 7, where EOS were sometimes getting eliminated early. And even when we got down to the very end of the broadcast, it was up in the air whether they'd actually win or not.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the middle of that day, they were at a pretty strong lead, and a lot of the other teams had to play catch up, and they played a lot of catch up.
Hmm.
It was they completely blew through that point differential to the point where we had one team, if they had stayed alive, literally, I think an extra second or two, it would have been second place for EOS last week because I think it was Dopamine who had a 15 kill match in game 6 that was
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely wild. But Team Nothing last second stayed alive, kept them in that, and completely changed the standings off of literally split second decision making.
Yeah, I mean, Dopamine survived up until fifth place in our last game last week and finished just 1 point behind EOS in the overall
Mhm.
standings. 69 to 68 points was the difference. And Dopamine's performance was really impressive, especially when we consider that they were able to do that, not just on any old map, but on Stormpoint. And I do want to take a moment and just refresh our viewers. We're going to be starting on World's Edge today. 3 maps are going to be played there, and then we'll move ourselves on over to over to Stormpoint.
You'll figure it
Yeah.
out. I'm sure you'll get your feet under you eventually, Dia.
Then we'll have 2 games of Winter Express, right? Is that?
I'd be down for that. Come on, give me the Winter Express.
I
I've
want
had
Winter Express, but with 20 teams.
I don't know about that one. That one feels like it might be a little bit hectic. Like I how do you do that. Like,
I don't actually think you can do it, but it sure would be a lot of fun. And the nice thing is that we're going to get to see, though we won't be playing Winter Express, a lot of teams still fighting constantly, especially as we talked about when we move on over to Storm Point. Cascade Falls was super crowded in the mid game just last week, and I'm expecting that to transition over into this week as well. But I am hoping that a few of our squads that do like those 3v3s a little bit more take a step forward on World's Edge, because obviously we can look at EOS, but you'll remember again from last week that I happen to be a pretty big fan of the Night Sisters. And the Night Sisters, they got going pretty late last week. Pull it
a
out a
little
little bit
bit.
earlier, take those 3v3s.
Yeah, I mean, they were doing great for a while. It was all growing great until it wasn't. And
Mhm,
unfortunately that did mean last game they really went down very early on. But I think what I want to see is kind of like you said, we had a lot of slow play early on, I think especially in the second half of yesterday. Ironically enough, usually you think of Storm Point as the real kill heavy map, and that's where, there's a lot more action. But I think yesterday, or not yesterday, last week, we had a lot more of a slow start. A lot of teams trying to feel things out, get an understanding of where things were going, maybe see where
mhm,
they were at on a mechanical level for that day, and eventually we got the action. I want to see the action on World's Edge because
mhm.
I think that is where really good IGLing can get you in some really good spots because people just understand that map better. You can find those spots. There's a lot of better areas to hold that you can maybe play more aggressively around and get a lot more kill points from.
And there are very different of aspects of the game that are rewarded on our separate maps as well. World's Edge, I do feel really plays towards those teams that not only can set themselves up in good positions early, but even more often than that, recognize, say, I think you've heard me say this a lot on World's Edge. Oh, it's too early to play that spot.
Mhm.
Recognize the necessary timing to move into what will ultimately become a power position. Storm Point is a little bit harder to play out of and rewards very different things about a team, where it's not so much about the timing of when you move into a spot, but how you fight your way there in a way that minimizes the amount of teams that you have to contest.
Yeah, and I think it does make it very interesting because Storm Point has so much variability in terms of its cover that, when you go into World's Edge, you have those really hard areas with just full on walls that are solid. There's no areas like that. But on Storm Point, you have the things like the fences, the little, areas you can peek through. The areas that you can hold are not as solid as they would be in a lot of areas on World's Edge. So overall, you've got to be able to play in off of just very weird, awkward spots. And I think that
Mhm.
does create a lot of interesting scenarios for a lot of these teams. And, that kind of leads to why it does favor a lot of the really aggressive, kill heavy teams because if you play aggressive, you're always looking for those spots. You're always looking for those capabilities to just peek through somewhere and get a shot off to start a fight off on the right note, which will lead to more wins than losses generally.
It's true, and when we say wins, we mean really in that micro sense of the 3v3s, getting yourself an
Exactly.
additional 3 points. The actual W's in terms of the squad that places first in a map do tend to be a little bit more difficult to actually get a grasp on, and a lot of that does come down to the way that our end games have been being played. I think last week we saw one of our best end games of the season, if I'm
Yeah.
recalling correctly. Where are
We
my
had
notes?
multiple ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I think game 6 was good. I think game 4.
I think I really liked game 3. That was really good as well, with Loch Nessies, EOS winning game 4, like you called
Mhm.
out. We had a lot of really well calculated ones, but that hasn't been the same thing throughout the season. A lot of our teams have been adjusting, have been getting a lot better throughout the course of this season, and now is really where it comes down to the test, because as we talked about, the last 2 weeks of this season, week 8 that we're in right now and week 9 next, there's a lot more pressure on these squads.
Absolutely. And I mean, you would expect as well as just time goes on and teams get more comfortable with each other, you're going to see a little bit better shot calling. You're going to see teams understanding what they should be doing in different situations. That you'd hope to see that growth, and I think that's awesome to see. Like we are getting those really great like pro level late games that we see in ALGS here now, and it's a lot to do with the fact that these teams have learned over these weeks that they've been playing against each other. And I think also, like you said, I want to see the I want to see teams play smarter, not harder,
And
right?
go ahead.
I just want to see them play around those late game rings, understand their positioning, and I want more of those really intense late games.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we get them as well, especially because, as I had alluded to, the mounting pressure in both this week, next, and then playoffs is something that these teams, a lot of them, haven't necessarily encountered before. They've had this week in, week out practice, but when all of a sudden your performance one week could severely impact the amount of prizing that you're eligible for, your placement in the overall season, and not just your seeding going into the next week that you can realistically claw your way out of. The it's harder to keep those comms clean. It's harder to make decisions when you know that you might not just be costing your team the game, you could be costing them the entire rest of the split.
Absolutely, right? Like it becomes now a lot more of the psychological aspect, right? Can you play
Mhm.
well under pressure? Can you understand how well do you work as a unit? I think that's a thing that especially in esports we don't talk enough about is just how well does your team interact with each other? Do you understand who needs to talk when? Do you guys we see sometimes a lot of teams that just talk over each other a lot. And when you see teams that seem like they'll be really good, it's things like that that can break them apart, that can cause problems. And that just heightens itself when you go into stressful situations like late season weeks like we're in right now.
Well, let's hope these squads can keep their cool at least for the first game of the day. We're dropping onto World's Edge right now, and the first game of Celestial Cup Soul League week number 8 begins. Everyone dropping down onto World's Edge. I'm not seeing a whole lot of contests initially. Even Landslide has been opted into, as again, this late in the season, people don't want to take risks early game.
Yeah, we do have Lavender fighting as per usual over at Countdown. And I cannot remember for the life of me which team it is that lands with them, but I do remember we have fights over this area very, very often, and it does come down to, who's going to be getting those 3 extra points every game for the next 3 games, and who is going to be going home struggling and panicking as we go into the back half today.
Now, it was, just to answer the question, Team Nothing that landed right here just last week. This was the 50-50 that did grief both teams at different points during the course of the day. Lavender, for now, though, seemed to have stabilized, despite the fact that Maxine did take that little bit of damage, and both teams do have the opportunity to split this POI relatively well, especially by maintaining these bridges as sort of halfway points. The danger that Lavender's going to encounter is that as they rotate south, we already know there's going to be a team that'll be mirroring them, that being Team Nothing, but there's also a squad that they'll be rotating into, landing over by Landslide.
Yeah, and I think that's a big difference, right? When you're looking at how things have been playing out in previous weeks, we have not seen a lot of teams go towards Landslide. It's not a common landing spot. I think we've seen it when some teams are struggling because they're fighting each other. One team will opt for that landslide because it just doesn't have the better loot. But now you got to be aware of that. Now you might be walking over to landslide thinking, oh, cool, we can just pick up extra loot as we go over here. You're going to run into another team and you can end up getting pinched. Lavender, I think, going the smart way around this, not just running straight into landslide, but actually going over to the side and making sure they have some way to get around this map and not get pinched.
I got to appreciate the new names from Team Nothing as well. Sasha Claus, Christmas Lights, getting in the mood for the season. As you talked about, Lavender's rotation away will keep them away from these holiday beasts, but may very well put them in a difficult situation when we come over to Fragment as well, because the zone does pull even further south, it seems. The northern part of Fragment not really in play, and there aren't a whole lot of spaces as you approach from the north that are going to be very nice, especially when once you have to leave that fragment area and move your way down towards St. Parts.
Yeah, now we go over to Dia's favorite team, the Night Sisters.
The Night Sisters.
Yeah, not in the best of situations here, though, as they are stuck in Lava Dome. Usually not the greatest area to try and get some loot. I do believe they got over to Big Mod, though, so they do have at least something going for them. But this area to fight from, not the easiest because of the fact that you don't have this, you don't have that height. You don't have that extra area to hide behind and try and play from that top-down level. So maybe maneuvering out, maybe going back over towards Big Mod Geyser area, seeing if they can get something there. Veneer, though, fighting as per usual over near tree.
Nice crack by Usaki. Does not get the knock just yet. The opening shield break then gets followed up on the ult from Insap. Turning into already knocked onto LNW. 2 of them down. There's a nice arc star for Insep. Also connects off the back of that Horizon ult. And Veneer find themselves with a really early squad wipe.
And this is very common for Veneer. They are the aggro team. You can see it in their legend picks. They're not going for the rotations with the Valk. They are running the Wraith, the Bloodhound, the Horizon. These are all aggro characters that want to get into the fight. Speaking of which, Night Sisters now getting into a fight here as they try to rotate towards Geyser, maybe back in.
On the other side of this, who is running the Ash? The tether already went down onto Ideal, and now she's been taken down. UTFT on the other side of this, it appears that wrapped around the side. There's not much you can do against 3 separate players. UTFT wipe the Night Sisters, and I have to say goodbye to them one more time.
An unfortunate turn of events. I'm actually kind of interested to know what exactly went down there, because when we last saw Night Sisters, they were going for that rotation over to Geyser, but it seems like they kind of just held back a little bit, and that ended up with UTFT coming over, getting that ability to follow up on the fight and clean it up at the end for the extra 3 points. Loch Nessies just getting some damage down as they do chase a team out of this staging area. And they will just be holding this for now. They will most likely have to move as the ring starts pulling further and further south, though.
Lust are getting going as well as Renee, the red-nosed reindeer, finds their first knock of the game. Aggro will be taken out as the result, and Lust getting their momentum going isn't a team that we've talked about yet today, but certainly one that we had plenty of time to talk about just last week, as they were another one of those really momentum-based teams.
Exactly, yeah, I was going to mention that. They are another team that wants to play aggressively and see what they can get out of that. When Lust does get going, it is really terrifying. They have that confidence to take fights and try and win them, and they're very confident in their abilities. Capybara, on the other hand, though, team that did very well coming in 3rd last week, now struggling as they do lose out on their Watson. We check over in with JSA, another of our stronger teams.
They've rotated over well into Harvester, already evidently found themselves some death boxes, and up on this ridge actually have a pretty safe position. The biggest threats onto JSA should be coming from behind them, though, not to the southeast, but to the northwestern side, where Jamie, Lutz, and Girl will have to keep their eyes out to see if anybody else is rotating over from the staging area. I like that they're swapping off, though, laying in a little bit of damage, and hopefully getting these Evo shields back up, because especially for Girl, who's still sitting on blues right now, you will need that little bit of survivability if JSA are going to keep playing edge like this.
Yeah, this is a very risky area to play from because of, like what you said, the back area just has so much room ripe to get jumped on. There's no cover out here other than those rocks, and they are going to have to maneuver through this eventually. Do have all purples now thanks to the damage on those Eva shields, and now they are going to be really trying to push through here. At some point, they're going to have to pull the trigger here. I feel like the longer they take here, the more pressing that need is going to be.
Arc pops up into the sky, does end up getting knocked as Sammy goes down. They've got a high ground angle to exploit right here, though, and Maya gets covered by Piku, who wraps around the corner with this 301. Great team play from Arc, and it turns into a squad wipe onto Loch Nessies. That is such a good start for them, and it shows us exactly what you and I were wondering about at the start of the day. Tessa, it is that team play in these very, very high pressure situations that keeps Arc alive.
Exactly, and I do really love watching Arc play because they know how to play in awkward scenarios. I've seen many times Arc have someone alive as a rat, and they're so good at holding on to a spot, not looking like they are prey to be jumped on, but still getting things done. Most of the time when you think about people ratting, it's just hiding and trying to stay alive for as long as possible. We have seen Arc take kills in those situations and actually take teams out because they know how to apply pressure without being the focus of attention.
I do hope the JSA have a plan that'll keep them in that same spot, though, not the focus of attention, as you just brought up, because they've landed themselves squarely between Arc and the ring, and the fact that they're moving over towards Lava Siphon through all this open ground has me very surprised that no one's shooting at them. Only 14 squads left, so perhaps a little bit of an underpopulated zone, but even so, JSA get away with highway robbery by picking up this building for free.
Yeah, I'm very surprised they got this for free because usually this is one of those areas you'd really like to hold here. I can only assume there are a lot more teams just hard pushing deeper into the ring here, trying to hold on to that. JSA may run into them because it looks like they have the same idea that they want to get deeper into this zone. Keep expecting it to pull further and further over towards that southeastern side where EOS are trying to hold on. Our previous week champions already in a fight here, and this could cost them a lot of points if they go down early.
Nice flank by Kyla, good damage as well. Nothing really traded back, and the follow-up by Odd keeps them with a lot of pressure. Woomy actually goes down on the other side of this as Miss Exodia finishes the knock, but this isn't the only squad fighting. Exodia gets that full thirst. EOS claim height, but elsewhere on the map, we are losing members, dropping them left and right. Phoenix goes down over here, and EOS are about to claim the highest of high grounds in this next ring.
Absolutely. This is what most people would call a god spot, but with it being a god spot, many people want to take shots at it. So EOS going to be constantly trying to refill their ammo, trying to keep pressure on and keep people away from them. But if they can hold this till our final ring, this is exactly where they want to be.
Lust have taken out UTFT. In the meanwhile, those are the kills that we were talking about going down throughout the rest of the map. So Lust's approach from the north through what looked like it was going to be Lava City could still wrap around on EOS a little bit later on. It's worth noting that EOS took this building without a beacon scan. They had not gotten one. And just now as this next ring reveals itself to them, they're likely thinking a very similar thing to you, Tesla. It's going to be great to hold until a little bit later on, and I do wonder whether EOS do opt for that little bit more defensive placement.
Yeah, you guys, you have to remember, a lot of these teams, ooh, as we do with Catalyst, I'm excited. A lot of these teams have studied ring patterns. They know where these rings are going to pool, at least in a general sense. So EOS most likely expecting that ring to come to them. They may not have had the exact knowledge, but it was a pretty darn good guess to have that come their way, as TLN now in a bit of a rough spot, getting plastered from multiple sides and needing to get out of this area in the next minute and a half.
It's been a really annoying fight, especially for Nessikins on this Wattson, who's trying to play defense but keeps getting pushed back by these Catalyst tacticals. Finally, with the door broken, you can address what TLN have been looking at the whole time, and Nessikins gets to set up that barrier again. The pylon going down, though, with only a minute left on this ring. That ult isn't going to be up now themselves before they've got to move. Out goes the Dark Veil. Nessikins still has a great angle to hold this off. TLN should be able to hold on here with the fence still intact.
Yeah, this is such a rough spot here. The Catalyst wall only does so much because walking through that Wattson fence is going to give you exact timing knowledge of when they actually walk through. They've got to figure out a way to get in here. That wall is about to go down here, and TLN might be able to hold this, but holding this area is not what TLN want to be doing. They need to get somewhere where they can get some ground, either by running, using their feet, or using that Valkyrie ult, getting that open air so they can get out of this situation.
Watson is just showing up right now. This is so good for Nessikins, who's been able to essentially solo defend the team right now with the use of these fences. They've given up just that little bit more ground, but like you talked about, focus has to be on the future, and the team right next to them has to be on the same page as well. TLN still have use of that Valkyrie, but with the team so nearby, will they actually be able to get away with this without just being fried on the exit?
Yeah, because that is the problem. They are stuck inside without a good way to get out without getting shot at. Ring is going to start to close, and they're going to have to make their movement here. And now TLN, they are going to just hold in here for a little bit, but they are going to get shot on the way out, and you can see the damage getting thrown down.
Now, if TLN die here, surely there's no time to make it into Ring. They popped the meds way too late. TLN, indecision kills them, and the zone just does the rest.
That is extremely unfortunate there, and that's where you really would like to just make that move, get that Valk out there, and ult, get something going. Eventually, you've got to make some kind of decision, and I am generally a proponent of making a move before the Ring forces you with it at your back. It makes it so easy for teams to prepare for when you're going to move. They know that you're just going to wait for that Ring to push you out. It's so easy for them at that point. Moving early is a little bit more unpredictable, gives you a little bit more time, and unfortunately there we see the price paid by TLN.
Yeah, it is a unlucky situation to undergo, but TLN have to look back at the decisions that they made to put themselves in that position, because this was not another team doing it to them. Veneer, however, have absolutely taken control of their own destiny, and over here in launch site do operate off the low ground for now, but in a decent spot. JSA maybe not making it into that height, as Luciano hiding behind a white knockdown shield, and that's not going to last forever. EOS have rotated down off of the high ground and quite expectedly are picking up more kills.
Bandit here.
Yeah, I am a little surprised to see them drop their spot to go out here, but looks like they're feeling confidence. They're going to try and just take out some of these teams that are trying to sneak their way in. And this is just free shots here for EOS. Should be another point or more as they run down one more person.
Control Freaks end up the aggressors in a fight against Comms as well. So as they get taken out, so do Lust, with EOS finishing that last knock. We do have a limited amount of time to get into the ring. They're on the fast side of it, but I believe everybody should be able to make it in. Miss Exodia likely healing up right now. There's the med kit, and movement in on Horizon should be relatively simple. They're super split, but somehow I don't suspect that they're going to be punished for it. Arc, meanwhile, are trying to rotate into launch site, and to have a difficult path to get here, they're going to choose not to oob this, instead landing directly in the center of launch site. Dopamine just go out, 8 squads left, and evidently Arc have all the space in the world as they take EOS's forward position.
I thought there was a team in here.
There should be a team in here.
Yeah, I was going to say, they got shot from here, and this is like a good spot to hold. But Arc actually kind of getting in here now. They do need to heal ASAP. Sammy very low right now, and nobody at full health. Got to take this fight carefully. Yeah, I don't think Arc are going to be getting out of this alive, unfortunately.
I think the EOS angle, honestly. Against a whole lot of teams, Arc should have been able to hold this, but against EOS, you really can't ask for much more. They are so dominant in these fights, and Odds already ready for the next one. Have pulled off the shield swap, walking straight through. We've got a 1v1 in Blood ult, and those are never fair as EOS find yet another knock, take out Jingle Jewels, and it's team nothing that may be going down next.
Now, one more alive, and it is the Valk there. EOS looking like they're going to chase this one down, and this is actually a lot more aggression from EOS than we're, I think, used to seeing. EOS usually known for just kind of holding on to spots, but right now they are feeling confident. Vernier in a little bit of trouble now, not able to do a whole lot with one person alive. We're going to see if this Bloodhound can keep them in the fight. Knockdown shield has to be played around, and that will be Insupultus going down. Yeah, not going to be able to do it. Unfortunate there.
Really, really unlucky. Veneer get taken down. VSK, I will say, did get their Seer thirsted. So being in the top 4 Things have just gotten a whole lot more difficult because of the delayed end to that fight. I they should be able to make their way into the zone pretty shortly. It's going to be a really tough one, though, as high ground still should belong to EOS, who have been sprinting it at teams left and right.
Absolutely. And taking a look at this, EOS is the only team that has a full squad alive at this point. BSK running down one. WKL has just that Valkyrie alive. And Capybara still missing out on their Watson right now. So EOS are definitely in a position to hold on to this and get a game one win for themselves in exceedingly dominant fashion.
They have God Spot, like you said. They have the only full squad alive. This should be just another 5 kills for EOS. Already one of them gets started there as WKL's last member is taken down. And EOS have the scans to know this as well. Running the Bloodhound, they've got full data on anyone that they choose to focus next. Zodia eats a few shots.
Oh
Out
my
comes that
goodness.
EMP, but right after that, you've got plenty of shields, plenty of time as EOS. Nobody can really pressure them here.
Yeah, as the EMP came out, we did see the damage from the nade hit, so it did just force off both teams to back off and heal up. A very important differentiation there, as EOS do not get any kind of pressure on them from that. And you can see, yeah, they've got to move here, but no team is really in the greatest spot. Look at all of the space EOS is controlling. The ring is pulling to that center area. Pretty much anything past that northeast section there is just entirely EOS's.
And it's all on height as well.
Exactly.
They should be the last team to drop down. Looking at where the zone is going to be pulling, they'll be able to play all sorts of angles on this, even the window that leads directly into launch site should they need to. Exodia has been bullying, cyber-bullying this team, though, and now that you've got the damage, you can kind of let the ring do the rest. Sure, skill points, though, so nice play from Exodia. It isn't actually going to be the full 2 kills that go over to EOS, as Capybara do get one taken out from a knock by another squad, and now we're in the top 2. As we've still got EOS in control, this should be a nice, clean way for them to finish off what has already been an excellent game. EOS danced the dance around the Dark Veil and walked away with a win in Game 1.
EOS playing just disgustingly well in this first game here, not only getting exactly where they needed to be as the ring came to a close, but also having the confidence to leave that spot and chase people down and get back over as soon as people come over their way. A first place finish with 14 points or with 14 kills is extremely good for a start in a league that we have seen generally start pretty slow. EOS comes out the gates sprinting.
A 26-point game is such a good beginning for EOS, but like you talked about, the most impressive thing about this game isn't the number that we see at the end, but is the way in which it was found. EOS 26 points we've seen capped before. We've seen, I think, 31-point games from JSA just last week. Things get
Mhm.
out of hand. But for EOS, it didn't even look close. And they did that, as we talked about earlier, without the zone reads from earlier. Just pure instinct was driving EOS that game. And this sort of calculated mid and end game that we were hoping for on World's Edge evaded so many squads, they had to hustle it all the way down into the south.
Yeah, I think this is really what differentiates EOS from a lot of the other squads. You see squads that have that aggression. You see squads that are really intelligent in terms of playing the ring. EOS play both of those sides of the coin while also being better at it than a lot of these other teams that are here. EOS is just so darn good. It is hard to
Mhm.
contest them on either side of that play style.
It like I really can't add anything, Tessa. The only thing that I'll ask you now is I'll give you one chance and one chance only. Do you want to change your prediction from the start of the day? Does somebody else walk away with
Absolutely
this?
not. No.
Okay,
I
okay.
play
All
devil's
right.
advocate for a reason.
All right. We've seen EOS walk away with game one, but Tessa is sticking to her guns to see whether EOS can become dethroned in our second game of World's Edge or maybe even further. We're going to have to wait and find out. So we're going to take a short break and then we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Celestial Cup. As Tessa and I have been full degen mode behind the scenes. Don't worry, Tessa, I'll take responsibility. It was 99% me. We get
I'm
to
gonna
come
blame
back.
you for it. It was
Thank you, thank you.
99% him.
We get to walk back into what EOS has already dominated and see if anybody else can put their mark on World's Edge. Because as we already illustrated, the most impressive part of EOS's win there wasn't even the fact that they won, wasn't the fact that they got 12 points. It was the way that they manhandled, or I suppose in this case, woman handled everything else on this map.
I mean, yeah, it was complete and utter control. And not one time did I feel like EOS were in a position where they were under pressure. Like, yes, there was pressure thrown to them. I don't
Mhm.
think they ever felt that. They were always in a good spot, always capable of just running people down. The fact that they left their god spot to chase down teams, got away with it, and had no negative repercussions is mind boggling to me because I feel like that absolutely needs to be punished. And I think that part of that it has to do with the fact that so many teams did kind of go down a lot earlier than you would see in some super high level lobbies.
It's true. It's true. And again, let's just sort of push this one step further. It's not just that they got to come back and claim their spot. It's that there was actively one team in their spot with another
Mhm.
team ready to third party it, and EOS didn't care and wiped them both. That's 6 KP that they picked up right there. And yeah, the way that EOS are just sort of, I guess, baiting everyone in, saying, "Hey, sure would be nice if we left this spot alone. Oh, we left it alone. Oh, we're gonna come back and take you out." That might be the game plan for them. Maybe they're just playing mind games with everyone. But we get to find out as we jump on into game two. Was it an EOS fluke, or are they just built different?
I don't think it was an EOS fluke. I I may be
You
standing
should
by
be
my
praying
terrible
that it was an
prediction.
EOS
I
fluke.
I'm praying for it. Like, don't get me wrong. I will stand by my prediction, even if it is a bad prediction. But I look. I don't think EOS is a bad team. I just want to hype up other teams too.
Yeah.
I want to see the action. I want to see teams pressure them. And that's why I'm going to hype up other teams and see if they can actually pull it off. Team Nothing here getting a lot of free loot here. I'm curious to see if we did get a Lavender landing elsewhere or not.
Th- This was, when I was looking at the map, it looked like a hot drop. So I'm surprised that Team Nothing were able to pick up so much of this loot that it is just in the south where Lavender should have landed. They're even pushing out now. Team Nothing going on the hunt a little bit now. They've notably changed up their composition moving into this game. Getting rid of that fuse. No more jingle jewels with the knuckle clusters. It's going to be just a, I would say, more standard comp, but one that mostly gives them a lot more control over their space.
It does. And in a meta sense, this is the better comp, but in my heart sense, it makes me sad because I want to see more Fuse. I have gone on many tirades about Fuse and how I think he is underutilized, but Team Nothing, yeah, just getting this
Let's go.
area
That
for
way.
free here, and I want to know where Lavender is right now because I'm checking. I believe they actually just left early because I'm looking at damage done. They have done some damage, and it does look like they have maneuvered somewhere different. They landed differently, I believe, because this is a far away. Unless they sprinted directly here, this is a long shot from where they would have landed if they landed in the same spot as last game.
Yeah, they've got pretty decent loot though, and a different rotation path in. This will be a little bit more southerly that they're approaching from, so a lot of teams potentially at their back, especially those from Thermal Station, can come up behind them. UTFT also one of the southern teams, though they won't be encountering our squad from previously. It appears that they are already in a fight, as Angie's taken a good bit of damage, and UTFT are still playing confidently, running one of the more aggressive compositions that we've seen today. Not just the Bloodhound Bangalore that's become pretty standard, but an Ashe alongside it. They've picked this up for the second game in a row, and though we didn't get to see a whole lot of this team, just the one fight that they had up against Night Sisters last game, I want to see what this theory crafting has got them so far.
Absolutely, I think this is a variation on one of my favorite compositions that I have seen in competitive games, which does swap out that Bangalore for the Fuse, but it is just a go button, right? The Bloodhound ult with the Ashe ult gives you so much capability to jump in and just delete people because you have that capability. Now, Bangalore obviously has had a lot more play as of late because she does have that capability to handle a lot of close range players. You have that smoke down. It does lower some of the capabilities for controller players, and I think it's a smart adaptation for a lot of teams to utilize, especially if you do know the setup that a lot of other teams are utilizing.
Yeah, and controller has been unanimously very strong. So I see no reason not to take away some of that advantage, or perceived advantage at the very least, from players that do bring a lot of firepower to the team in most situations. JSA, though, lots of firepower, regardless of input, have already found some good damage. We didn't get to see them show up in the late game last time as they ended up playing out of the low ground. This time, they were again a little bit further down than I would have expected, at least in terms of actual vertical space, but they've got a really good position, a much better one from a textbook perspective than I would have imagined that they were looking for even last game. This house up on the hill in between Climatizer and Epicenter is one of the very few places where you can run a game in its entirety as long as you play defense effectively.
Absolutely. It's an area that is great until you start running low on you obviously do not have a lot of access. So Pilfrey's in a little bit of trouble here. 2 down. It is just this Wraith here. We'll see if capable of getting the team back up or maybe just trying to run and get out. A lot of time being put in trying to get out Winx here and maybe able to do so with this portal, but you have to imagine that the enemy team is going to be following through on the portal very quickly.
Bolters on both the teammates. Really nice damage from Favorite, but it's so late. It's a knock on to Wonder Nicky. Comms have already found themselves one squad wipe today, but they may not get a second. Favorite is showing up and almost manages to find the full knock onto Comms. 150 health left for Samurai Sky is enough to be comfortable, but not enough for me to not pay respect to what we just saw out of Favorite.
Yeah, and we do check in on the other side of the map too. Lust and Veneer in a fight. 2 of our aggro teams going at it, and unfortunately, we do see Veneer go down because of the ring there on the end here. Is Lust not out of the woods yet, still stuck in this ring, and still having to fight more teams. Snow Queen also falling pretty early here, and we do see Lust do get a little bit of extra time. Ring within sight, and they should be able to get out cleanly here.
Night Sisters being taken out. You know that I hate to see it, but I respect it. Lavender, the ones to find those kills. Already picking themselves back up after what was a middling game, a middling performance just 20 minutes ago. Aggro living up to their names as well as they pop up onto this roof. They've got that Bangalore comboed with the Horizon and a knock already with extra damage thrown in by Yu-Gi-Oh! Turns into a second and likely a third as Aggro do temporarily lose one. Likely to pick up that last kill very shortly. Odd's been taken down here as well. Things are getting real risky.
Yeah, this is kind of the
EOS.
Yeah, this is EOS. This is the struggle that we have seen EOS go through sometimes. They have most of the time that consistency, but when the consistency isn't there, it is extremely not there. And Aggro, they do not fully clean up EOS, but they do get at least one thirst, and they're gonna get more, it seems like, here. Aggro definitely actually, that's LNW. Hold on, there's multiple squads here.
Yeah, this is not just a clean and simple fight. Aggro are playing both sides of it right now to defend these banners while simultaneously looking for more kills. We're only looking from their perspective at the moment, but theirs, I think quite understandably, being the dominant one, could still look for more eliminations. We're at 15 squads now. You have to survive for at least 4 more teams falling before you pick up more placement points. And that's going to be difficult for launching squads coming for Fragment, evidently. More so when you're trying to come for out a landslide. Loch Nessies looking for a fight of their own just around these loot pills. Have Libillion and Rena on almost no health, but they take out Nice Girls just in the nick of time. 14 squads left now, and still plenty of time to make their way into ring. It is just round 2. They've got the gold shield, and they've got all the meds that Nice Girls just left them.
Absolutely, and that is unfortunately second game in a row. Nice Girls do go down pretty quickly. Loch Nessies will get the opportunity to reset here. Ring is going pretty far, but they do have that Valkyrie for the rotation. I think they just want to get into a better spot so that they can get over to the ring in an easier area. But right now, Loch Nessies, they're not out of the woods yet, right? Like, I'm looking at Renaissance inventory right now. 3 syringes is not a lot when you've got to go this far.
It'll be tough. I'm gonna have faith. I'm gonna just put the faith button over there. We'll check in with them later. I think it should be a doable distance. For Lust, however, they're in a very different scenario, as they're already in the ring, but their problem instead is going to be coming on over this head peak. For now, all they've got to do is sort of hold this squad off with a little bit of extra damage, finding a flesh, finding a knock.
Ooh.
They've gone above and beyond, and Lust can now look for KP.
Yeah, now they're seeing the aggression. They know they have the capabilities to fight here. They do need to be a little bit careful here, as they do have some worry of getting into this next ring. 2 minutes until it starts closing. Mystic Zodia still alive. You can see very much trying to stay as invisible as possible and see if she can sneak into this next ring, get as many placement points as possible.
It's a really awkward spot, though, and even from here, Lust running the Seer might be able to see this if they have the time to look around. There are other squads firing at them, and Lust do have a lot of focus, naturally, towards the squads that are actively taking their attention. Renee actually, with a nice angle, even denying the utility out of this Dark Veil, is able to keep the rest of Lust safe one more time, with the Flatline really doing work today.
Yeah, I do think Mystic Zodia is far out of the Seer range. I think you're overestimating it a little bit. But it's still not a great spot to maneuver out of here. Lust do have a lot of control here. While they do need to get going soon, the amount of loot that they have picked up through their aggression should do them well as they start moving into where a lot of these other teams are fighting. JSA, they've been holding this Climatizer area the entire game, right now trying to push people out.
Oh my lord, the double swing with Luciana and Girl as well, just decimating on the inside. There's not a lot the Team Nothing can do up against this as JSA dissect them, finding not just 3 KP, but one of the cleanest fights that we've seen today.
Yeah, just really smart to have that peak at the same time on both sides. You saw one of the members of Team Nothing just keeping vision on that southern western side here, and then on the opposite side, Janie is peeking out. No one's watching for her, and she just gets free shots while they're all focusing on the other side. Really smart to just maneuver and swing at exactly the same time. And JSA, now you can see they have a lot of great loot here, very set up for whatever team is going to come their way in the next couple of minutes.
TFT down as well. Aggro likely looking to eliminate yet another squad, as they've already drawn a lot of blood today. Sitting right next door to Epicenter, they've got a team on Crafter in front of them, but are playing things safe. That additional data given over to them doesn't actually turn into damage, but Renee goes down as Carlita finds that knock. Nunez going to take a second to reset, still safe inside this ring. Can't quite find the confidence to wrap around in the meantime. Aggro get to hold on to their high ground, likely having to push up to the Macaroni building where we saw JSA at the start of the game, where now we've got a whole nother squad to contend with.
And now things get very unfortunate here, as they're just going to have to hold on. This team is going to just back away here. I think they're going to lose one. Are they actually going to push this? Looks like Aggro playing up to their name and going to be chasing this one down. They do have to be careful. This is a very short timer for this ring. They have 1 minute before it's going to start to close, and trying to get up above this hill and come down into Climatizer is not an easy rotation when you do have to move the ring at your back.
They've snipped out that it is just 2 people from this squad ahead of them, so
They took
Aggro
out
are
the
going
third.
to get a little bit more presumptuous with their positioning. The thing that scares me about this is that with another squad still on the Macaroni building, or they were moments ago, Aggro should be getting punished from there, and just now, I'm amazed that they're finding flesh here. What is happening on the other side of this building?
It is a free-for-all. You can see 4 hostiles in there means that there are 2 teams hanging out, and trying to get some KP, and aggro maybe feeling like they're gonna go for this. More flesh being hit by Natty Nunez there on the side. And I'm actually surprised at how patient aggro are playing this. I feel like they have the opportunity to move into this. They do now see that they have a Watson over to their left, but how are they going to get into Climatizer? Because they are basically opting into a pinch, and they are certainly missing a team member right now. Carlita running a little behind. This is extremely unfortunate for aggro.
Yeah, they jumped right into the meat grinder. Yu-Gi-Oh! Even eating shots from another squad. Carlita shows up in the nick of time, but looking out behind them as this ring starts closing in. TLN had the path cleared for them by this grand exodus that just happened, courtesy of aggro. We wonder how they're dealing up on the high ground as everyone else converges on this building. Already several kills being picked up, and evidently, TLN, still ring at their backs, is forced to play this safe as they run straight into the remainder of Capybara.
Yeah, now you can see JSA just getting 3 shots here. Aggro does eventually go down. Lust taken out as well. Saviola, the only one left alive here. Is JSA going to run them down and get their free KP. TLN going to fall as well. We're down to 7 squads here. And just 5th ring. Check on the other side here. We can see Arc in the middle of a fight themselves here, trying to run people down. Samurai Sky did survive earlier, just barely, on that 1v3 that almost occurred. But now in a situation where they do not want that 3v3. They want to get out of this situation. And it looks like Arc's going to hold on to this spot. I want to check where the ring is going to be coming here, because that is really where we're going to see which team is in control here. And it does look like Arc are very happy with their positioning, holding on to this spot. They can maneuver no matter where that ring does pool into that next spot.
BSK feeling really good as well, holding the center of Climatizer right now. They won't have to contend with a whole lot of squads, but already have lost one as instantly health gets ripped away. Now there are still JSA, for example, that need to make their way into this zone. It was a great shot from our observer with this third-person camera to look out over the lobby and say, okay, JSA have just wiped this whole side. The other side, complete chaos right now, and JSA are looking to bring their order into this next ring of the map, already with so much fighting over here. BSK do still have a pretty good spot, but have lost one. Sayonara looks for the wipe, doesn't quite get it. LNW and Comms both gone, but EOS is still here as well, with Miss Exodia trying desperately to survive on this low ground. She's made the top 5. This is already a win for EOS.
This is exceedingly good for EOS. I don't know how she got over here, as the ring will start to close now. She is getting fully healed up as 2 teams are fighting above here. You can see VSK and LNW, or not LNW, VSK and I believe that is Lavender? I am completely blanking here.
VSK and Lavender, yes.
Yes.
VSK and Lavender coexisting in this building. Miss Exodia right below them. Miss Exodia doesn't necessarily have to win a fight. She just has to look really scary so she doesn't get pushed. I'm really not sure how long this lifeline is going to last. Opposite side of the ring, though, a lot of attention being drawn over here towards Arc, who do not look super comfortable up against JSA. JSA are in the line of fire of a lot of teams, but nobody's taking advantage of it just yet. Janie even able to full pop the bat. Luciana taking a lot of damage, though. Tries to get one of her own. The push has to come through from other squads, and now to take advantage of JSA, who are wiping the floor with another squad. Janie's gone down, though. Girls getting out-angled. Arc are gone. EOS are down. JSA are on their last legs, but able to reset. And with 3 teams left, we once again find ourselves in a situation where only JSA this time are a full squad. BSK get taken out, and now it's time for the cleanup here, Tessa.
Absolutely. JSA now in the same kind of position EOS were last game, had God's spot, controlled it extremely well, took up as much space as they possibly could. JSA just going to collect their win here. Girl taking a lot of damage here. And now the damage from Letsiana and TSMJD should get them the rest of the way. Taking a little bit of a long time. They do not want to push this here. They're just going to play this slowly and let the ring push them out onto the catwalk. Now JSA finally going to make the push, clean things up, and JSA will be your champion for game 2.
You could see Girl feeling real confident there, swinging wide and going, guys, come on, we've got this. Cleans up those last kills and gets JSA a really well-deserved victory. Their moves over towards Climatizer were proactive. They were, I think, really risk-free in a lot of their movements as well, making their way to the Macaroni building early, playing the outside of Climatizer. JSA were a squad in motion, and it nets them a 25-point game.
Yeah, matching basically what we saw from EOS in game 1. And speaking of EOS, getting 4th place in a game where they lost most of their squad early on. That is such a big win for them to at least net some points out of this. Lavender also doing a great job here to get into 2nd place here with the 9 placement points, the 6 kills. A nice game for them as well. A very, widespread, I'd say, in terms of game 1 and game 2 points. We're seeing a lot of teams that we did not see in game 1 on that upper echelon of the points.
Yeah, I like the mix up here. That concern, though, does get drawn back as consistency is, of course, always what we are rewarding. And the moves up are impressive. TLN barely missing out on the top 10 here, with the cutoff being 3 points for this game. Control Freaks and Night Sisters being our only 2 squads not to collect anything in this last round.
Yeah, but look at what is left in terms of that column there. Dopamine, Vernier, Capybara. These are 2 or 3 of our top teams from last week. We're only getting 1 point in game 2. That is not going to be what they need to move further on throughout this night. There needs to be some kind of change going into game 3 here, because that is not going to get them where they need to be.
Penultimate day of the season before playoffs, and only one more game on World's Edge. If you were a team that prides yourself on your cerebral approach to the game, now's the time to show us that you can do it on, I would say, the most solved map of Apex Legends so far. We'll see what these teams have to offer and whether they can claw their way towards the top of the leaderboards when we get back from a short break. Welcome back, everyone, to the Soul League. My name is Dia, and I am joined by Tessa. And Tessa, we've had the unique privilege of watching two of the most dominant teams in the Soul League win the first two games of the day. First, it was EOS. Next, it was JSA. Third, who's going to slot their name in alongside the greats?
I don't think I can answer that question because it feels like this second game had a lot of switch ups from game one. Teams landing a little bit differently, teams just playing a little bit differently and running into each other in different ways. That's why we saw teams like Vernier and why am I blank? Dopamine going down a lot earlier than expected, which will just switch things up. And when you have entirely different data sets here for game one and game two, I don't think I could realistically make a prediction without looking like an idiot.
I respect that. When in an unpredictable scenario, you must admit that there's a lot that we just don't know about how these teams are approaching the game. But the one thing that we can say for certain is that it's come with a lot of aggression, with the exception of TLN. Everyone else is looking for fights, and this is not flaming TLN. They're just not looking for fights.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's something to be said about being able to get in and out of rings while not taking fights, right? It is difficult to do, difficult to succeed in doing. And I think TLN has been getting very late for a team that does not look for those engagements here. I'm also curious to see how our compositions are going to look because we've had
Mhm.
a couple of different mix-ups here. We do check see EOS still slightly at the top, but JSA and VSK both on the heels, and things really drop off here. You see some of the teams that did really well in game one fell off in game two. Now you're seeing the consequences of that with a pretty hard point drop off to Arc, Lust, Comms, Lavender, Vernier. That is really where we are going to be at. Game three, though, has the opportunity to mix things up again. I'm taking a look. We have a Vantage.
Oh, oh,
I am
oh,
excited.
oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
I've got to whoa, whoa,
you got to
whoa. All
pull
right.
up your
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stats
No, no, no.
here.
I'm seeing
We
my
have a Vantage
my
and a Catalyst on the
my
same team.
data mining client has revealed to me
It's,
that
I don't think you can say that.
UTFD are going to be giving us the advantage. What do you make of Vantage in comp, Tessa?
I think also, look, I
In
think
comp.
pretty much of any character can be played realistically outside of Mirage. I love Mirage, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's ever going to be competitively viable. I think Vantage does a lot of things for teams that is not teams just don't know how to take advantage of, right? She has that individual mobility. She can play off on angles in ways that no other character can and get herself out of situations that are not good. And then you look at the Catalyst, which has seen a little bit of play. I don't think we've seen the full capabilities of it, but it does have the ability to lock down areas and really take away movement options from people, especially if you block off those doors, use the tactical to make it even more difficult to walk in and out of spaces. This is a team that seems to be really focused on looking for flanks and protecting themselves while they do so.
I like it. It's a lot of battlefield disruption and manipulation, at least, has to be the theory. Another team that was experimenting earlier today, Team Nothing, as we talked about picking up the fuse earlier, have gone out of this sort of what I'm gonna, and you can correct me, Tessa.
I
Out
usually
of
do.
this sort of thank you, win more mentality that they had with
Mhm.
that pick, and move themselves into something that, as we talked about last game, maybe has a little bit more consistency. The nice thing about this composition here as well is that they've actually got ring pulling to them this time. It may not be second ring, we don't know yet, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, and this is going to be an interesting ring here
Oh,
because as we do check in, see a little bit of fighting coming out here from Faye and friends. As Lavender also just trying desperately. They have gone so many different ways out of this area, and they have run into problems every single time, unfortunately.
Now, last week, the Loch Nessies did win Game 3. This week, they've picked a fight before round 1 starts closing, and on white shields no less. This might be the move for them as, hey, a win here will get you the additional 3 points. For now, though, they are going to back off. Everyone's going to go their separate ways, and I can't say that I really blame them. Nobody benefits from being third-partied before round 1 close. With the disengage coming through from all sides, Team Nothing instead are going to set themselves up for the late game up here on Sniper Tower. I do wonder if they're using this for the rotation because, reminding everyone, they don't have zone scan yet, so sticking around here would be way risky.
Yeah, and like we said here, this ring is extremely interesting as Samurai Sky just beams people. I'm never gonna get to talk about my point. Good lord. The ring is such an interesting pool because it is so wide open, right? There's very little cover here. Comms now in a little bit of trouble, needing to cover themselves. The Samurai Sky gonna go down. That is one person down for Comms, 2 people down. Wonder Nikki gonna be the third here in just a second. Takes down the other Seer, but now has to get the shield bat off before somebody shows up. Just half a second, will get it, and now Comms, they're still alive. They're in it. They're trying to pull it off. Wonder Nikki unable to do so. Comms just barely taken down by Capybara, and it is the absolute closest fight we have seen, I think, today by Capybara here.
That was a really nice one, and I'm glad that they got themselves an early game win. We've already seen Wonder Nikki clutch up early game fights before, and now we might get to see JSA doing the same thing. 19 squads left, could be pushing us down to 18 soon as we did see some knocks. Lutz has enough time though to get aggressive on this rock, abandoning all cover for the moment and instead looking for a little bit more aggression. Needs backup from Janie and Girl, however, and as Janie comes over to cover this angle, maybe get a few extra peeks in. Lutz gets to pop the shield bat, making for a clean double swing. We've already seen to great effect from JSA today.
Yeah, JSA completely Luciana is so good. The car aiming was perfect, and then just on the way out, pulls out the wingman for the thirst. JSA just get an easy win. EOS are taken out at 19th.
This is the taking your fate into your own hands that we like to see in Apex Legends. JSA eliminating some of the biggest competition in the lobby for the last game on World's Edge is a great start. Having already won last game as well, they can survive up to even, top 2. This would be really good. Problem is, they may have started to lose a little bit of control. We've got Wraith Portals back now as everybody realizes that, wait a minute, we've got a squad that's weak right here. How weak are they? Girl, not going to get pulled back in, but instead going to get triple landed on us.
How did she get out?
She is alive. Girl is outlasting everyone. Janie finds the 1v1 in the meantime. 2v2 for now, but Girl, no shields,
way.
almost takes this with Natty Nunez, gets swung on by Yu-Gi-Oh, but Janie's got her covered. JSA works so well together, and they take out aggro, no questions asked.
I have no words. JSA completely dominating that fight there. The capabilities to get in and out of there. I wish we had vision on Girl's point of view to see how that worked out and how she got in around all of that, did not take any damage, and still got the ability to then swing on people with Janie taking out aggro. That was an incredible display of just 3v3 fighting mechanics.
If aggro is a bull, Girl is running around with a red flag going that entire fight. And Janie got so many free shots. And don't get me wrong, 1v1 from Girl was really good. But oh my lord. That survivability. That might be the most impressive 3v3 we'd see all day. That it genuinely might.
Absolutely there. And we do take a look. This ring pulling towards Harvester. And right now, LNW holding on to that area very well. We see Kathleen streams as well, being able to hold that BSK very comfortable. And over on that bottom right side there, we do have, as I will check and make sure, TLN. Okay. There, give me a break. There are 20 teams. I am trying desperately.
I didn't say anything. I
Shut up,
literally
Dia.
didn't say it. You know what? I'll take us in a different direction here. I know that we focused on who's in Harvester. My focus for this game is going to be who gets out of Harvester and when. At the most elementary level, that's what it's going to come down to. But looking a little bit further on, where Mulvana's at right now, this ridge outside of Harvester, that's going to be what's really important. We talked about at the start of the day how World's Edge has this concept as opposed to Stormpoint where it's a little bit less frequent of taking positions too early. And especially is that true in zones like this over by Harvester, where this ridge line out towards staging can mean so much. Taking it early can very much cost you your life.
Absolutely. It also depends where in Harvester you're at, because different areas are going to be a lot more frequented and have a lot more pressure put their way. I think LNW in a really nice spot where they have basically teams guarding their entrances for them, right?
Mhm.
Like they're deep into Harvester. And yes, it's not going to be the easiest thing to maneuver out of there, but you'd expect this ring to pull towards one of these entrances and they just need to be able to make that move when it gets there. But they essentially have bodyguards keeping them safe before anybody else can get deep into them. If they want to hold on and just wait for teams to try and come in there, they absolutely can do that. Arc on the side here, as I think we might be seeing a little bit of action here on Lust.
An Arc, Lust, and then Team Nothing all pushed together over by staging. Lust actually, with that gravity lift, attract that extra attention. But for the
Oh
moment,
my
should be
goodness.
relatively safe up here. Initial damage is good, but pushing this is like it's pain. So I think they should be fine. The
They have
biggest
to drop,
problem that I'm
yeah.
seeing right now is that all three of these teams are going to have to leave at the same time because Team Nothing is starting to shoot at Lust, as are Arc, and with the delay pushing all these three squads together, it becomes less about who can calculate their way out on top and more about who gets lucky.
Absolutely. Lust not in an enviable position right now as they do need to figure out some way out. Remember, this is another team that does not have that Valkyrie, so there's no easy way. This is one of those situations where the Valkyrie really does do a lot for your team. When you're getting pinched, you have a way out. You can avoid fighting. But right now, Lust have to make do with what they've got. They can use the Wraith Portal, maybe avoid some things, but it is not going to be the easiest scenario to find an answer to.
For now, their avoidance of at least shots from the squads surrounding them is going to be enough. Given that they're inside this next ring, Lust should be able to really effectively defend this position. No one's going to drop on them with everyone around. But JSA, on the opposite side, are going to have a little bit more fun this time around, fighting now in ring, as they're going to pick up yet another squad wipe. I say rest in peace to the Night Sisters, but if JSA are cleaning them up in this form, I can't say that I'm too mad about it.
JSA have to be careful though. They've got people gatekeeping them from this ring. Now they've got to figure out a situation very quickly as they will keep ticking down and do not want to take extra damage. Okay, you could just shoot him and take him down. Janie taking one with her, and they are going to continue the fight on, thirsting for Tiato there. As JSA trying desperately to figure out where they can go that is going to keep them alive. Watch the health bars. This is such a risky res. I am amazed they got that off here, and they paid the price for it. Letiana gonna go down, JD down. It is just Girl alive here on the outside, trying desperately to figure out where can I get into this ring and avoid more teams coming at me.
Our picture-in-picture gives us the perfect angle on Dopamine sliding up on this fight and taking out the majority of JSA. Girl's got a few heals, not too many though, and survival of the ring is honestly probably the least of her problems because Dopamine have not given up this position yet. There's even another team involving themselves here, and Girl on the Seer is going to have to walk. Is that true? Is that for real? Gonna have to walk in through
I don't think you can.
6? People?
I don't know if you can here. I think girls just unfortunately just out of luck here. Actually, no, wait. Lavender maybe actually backing off here. So now girl does have an opportunity, but I think the meds are gone. Oh, girl just barely getting in there. And now, yeah, these teams are just going to walk away. Girl does have a way in unless Dopey does have an inkling.
Girl should have this on
Oh,
scan, but Dopamine are disengaging. 20 seconds left. Oh my god, why are they sitting here? This is exactly what Girl is feeling right now. I just want to get in ring. Fortunately, the patients will at least place JSA above TLN, who go out in the
they
meantime.
know.
Everybody
They know.
forming out
Oh
for
my
this
God.
Valk ult, and they are gone. They'll see it from the sky, but unfortunately, Girl's survival in this ring probably won't get her into the next one. These meds are going to be too tight, and for the moment, JSA, they're just
Oh
going to play
yeah,
the
I
game
don't
of
think
how
you get
long
here.
can we survive out of ring. It's not going to be too long, but at least these 3 med kits should keep JSA maybe 15 seconds longer.
Yeah, it's really just a can you survive here? Oh, and it is very unfortunate. This will just be the end of JSA. They're just looking at that scoreboard, hoping somebody else gets into a fight, but it's most likely just going to be JSA falling. As we do see Renee and company in a little bit of trouble, just fighting out another team. Pretty Bond Girl is going to take down one sitting up on that top side, but does drop down. Baby Ducks is holding this high ground very well. And Movana and Pretty Bond Girl trying to get pressure on Renee should have the opportunity to heal up now. And there is the
There's the
Ash ult,
Ash.
but Baby Ducks is just beaming people down, able to just barely stay alive. And now Renee, full health here. Movana gotta get the shield swap, maybe look for more, but it is 2 people versus 1. Movana not gonna be able to fully heal up. They do get up Scarlet, so it is a 3v1, and Movana trying desperately to get people up, but the Horizon Q will stop that one in its tracks. Movana just has to run, and it is a beautiful fight there by the side of
Lust.
Oh my goodness.
I got you. I got you.
Thank you.
Time.
I was falling into an abyss of lack of words, and you saved me, Dio.
And now we have friendship, right? That's what we decided Lust meant last week. Just friendship.
That's right.
JSA do now die. I want to call out how long that took, because it was a ridiculous amount of time. It was long enough for yet another 3v3 to happen. So a full squad was wiped in the time that Girl was just popping medkits outside of the zone. Respect to her for living for that long, but now that we're into the top 12, Control Freaks have got to find their own way of fighting out of Harvester. 20 seconds left on this zone close. Now is where you'd really like to control that hillside that Nice Girls had earlier, that they now unfortunately no longer have the woman power to maintain.
Control Freak's gonna clean up one and just back away. Yusaki also here looking to see what they are capable of. We've seen this area held by JSA before, but this is an entirely different scenario here because there are all kinds of teams fighting. So we see Dopamine go down. LNW now in a little bit of a rough situation, taking damage as they have a team pushing onto them, and that is going to be Winx backing out, staying alive. Shield bat will hit by Jasmine, but they've got to move. Ring at their back. LNW just trying desperately. Yasai going to end up falling there. LNW goes down. Control Freaks just holding off there, but will fall just after LNW. We do see VSK backing out of this Harvester area, and they will have to leave it here. Just oh no, they do have a small pocket just barely inside the ring. And I think they're just going to hold on to that as they wait for more teams to go down.
We talk about God spots a lot, and I think it's time that we call out Veneer, because though we were focused on Nice Girls in this position earlier, Nice Girls have now been taken down. We're into the top 7 teams, and Veneer have high ground. Now, I will say, this spot was a lot better when Horizon was not meta. Now there are a lot more teams that can contest you. Make it just one less. Lavender do get eliminated. But Veneer's position is as close as you can get to a game-winning spot right now. They're very hard to push. They control almost everything. Only one squad is behind them, and look at how much ground they're covering up in the top left of your
Exactly.
screen.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. We talk about capability to hold area, and Vernier is succeeding in that exceedingly well. And more importantly than that too, not only is this ring coming, but we saw Yusaki just literally standing on where the full ring closure will take place. So Vernier are just beyond ecstatic with their positioning. The only thing they need to keep in mind is their ammo count here. Taking a look at Yusaki just running low on that sniper ammo, and without a death box to steal from that has some, you're going to be out of luck going forward. So the poke might have to die down pretty shortly.
Veneer playing things as slow as they can. I like that they're sending Yusaki out on this little, not solo mission, but just dangling out there, seeing if anybody bites. The rest of Veneer ready to pounce, certainly. But they're also taking multiple fights at once. Yusaki's been pulled back, and it's a good knock on Baby Ducks initially. Still, the cleanup has to happen, and it's the perfect time to third-party Veneer if you were anywhere close to this. Lust get taken out. Yusaki sees that no one's got an angle on them just yet, but that Arc Star does signal that another squad's coming in. WKL get taken out in the meantime. 4 teams left. Veneer still having to hold on to this section of the map, and doing so immaculately right now. Nice rise out of Yusaki. Another bat needs to be popped though, and Veneer continue to hold down this angle with great damage from Wraiths as well. Just making sure that Veneer stay in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and they're keeping the pressure on. Yusaki will now just push forward here. This is aggression incarnate, but does not have the team to follow up just yet. Vernier now going to just run them down, try and clean up the rest of this, and that will be Arc eliminated just after VSK gets takedown. One other squad alive here, and you can see
It's nothing.
it is Team Nothing holding on to that low ground. They will get the resets off. Both teams kind of just setting up here. It is an arenas fight, as close as it can be, but I don't think Team Nothing are pretty happy with what their positioning is like right now.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of when you call a timeout in wrestling, and then when you come back, one person starts on top of the other. It's exactly what's going on right now, because you have got still such a great spot as Veneer up on the high ground, a plethora of angles down onto the low. And when you're tossing gravity lifts down to try and get somebody as a surprise, you know that you're in charge of the game. Veneer have just as much knowledge as we do. They know it's a game-winning position, and they get to drop down and claim that win, putting themselves right next to teams like EOS and JSA, the greats of today. Now have been.
Yeah, and really, Veneer has always been capable of getting these kinds of wins. They just need to get into the right spots, and this time around, able to make that work. They got that God spot, played it just to perfection, and you'll see, holy moly. Okay.
Wait a minute. There we
That
go.
was confusing. I was so scared there for a second. I don't know how you get 40 points in a game, but 21 points sounds a bit more reasonable.
Yeah,
Vernier
Veneer.
doing a great job in this game and should get them into a pretty high spot in placement.
Yeah, this is a really nice way to put yourself into the conversation for our top couple squads halfway through the day. A win like this keeps you in the conversation. With Team Nothing and Arc coming up behind, you've still got a little ways to go. As them, Control Freaks, and JSA, though, really impressive performances, especially when we consider how early JSA died. 1 placement point, Tessa.
It is unfortunate, but they do at least get something there. And the 10 kills will absolutely net them at least enough to stay within the running here. Arc also doing a great job getting 12 points here. I mean, Arc and Team Nothing are teams that we don't normally get to see on this side of the leaderboard. It's great to see them really get up towards that top 3 spot here in terms of points earned. But Vernier just I it is difficult when you are in the sights of Vernier. It is so hard to try and win a fight that is a just straight up 3v3.
I'll take a look at the bottom 10 of the scoreboard for this game as well, as a lot of squads that were unfortunate to be caught, not just Veneer's sight, but as you had mentioned previously with the kills from JSA propping him up. JSA, who single handedly managed to take out two squads on their way in, eliminating EOS in 19th and Aggro in 16th. EOS specifically being the team of note here to be taken down a notch.
Yeah, we talked about consistency. And when you are a team that plays more on the side of trying to get placement points and just looking to end games correctly and play very tactically, one bad game will put you in a position where you can lose your spot. You know, if you are a team that looks for those peaks, if you're an edge playing team and you try and play with that aggression and get those like one or two pop off games to get you your points, you can afford to have those bad games. Whereas when you play on that edge of or on the inner circle and you try to play for those placement points, that consistency throughout every game, one bad game can cost you a day.
Hmm. We'll see who's been cost the most as we have just finished off our games on World's Edge for the day. We'll now be switching over to Storm Point, where I think even more so, Tessa, those teams that do come from the Edge that are looking for kills, they get to take a step up in their consistency. This is where it feels really good to be an Edge team, and we get to see all that action when we come back from a break. Three games down, three to go. My name is Dia, and I'm I'm as I have all day today and will hopefully for the rest of my life have Tessa by my side as we are jumping in to Storm Point where Tessa, everything changes.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of those teams do really well in terms of the placement, and a lot of kind of methodical play. It all goes out the window. Storm Point now, we get our aggression, we get our aggro play, and we'll see if some of these teams that have held their lead for now can continue that process going into our game three, or our three games on the back end of today.
Now, given the fact that we are halfway through the day, I want to check in with the overall leaderboards and see where we're sat because now is really when not just us, not just you at home, but the teams really need to be factoring this into their decisions in terms of gameplay, how risky they're going to be. Oh, how they're going to be playing. I've been told that they're broken, so they're broken, and we'll figure it out later.
We will let you know as soon as we know. Is I believe the point. But
Fingers
we're gonna get
crossed.
into the game because I have seen that the teams are on to Storm Point right now, and teams picking up guns, and I am excited because new map means new team fights because different people are going to land in different areas of the map. We have multiple people at antenna, multiple
My
people
God.
at barometer. It is just an absolute fight from the beginning.
Yeah, this is all. I think the most action we've gotten out of TLN all day is the fight that they're having right now, and it may be the last bit of action we get from them this game as Nessikens has to sit back with no ammunition
The
in the
Mozam
99
baby.
and a 6-shot Mozam. This is pain.
And we'll see if anything can be gotten from down here. We'll pick up a little bit more ammo, but I don't think ammo is the issue at hand. I think the issue at hand is more the fact that you are a solo Watson doing what you can.
How is this not been pushed?
I that is a very good question. I know we will see. Give the time for the Watson to set up, make it a little more difficult, but I don't think Nessikens can do a lot here. We'll just try and play for time.
What is
And
going on?
I don't know. How
How?
are you getting
How?
away with this?
How is TLN still alive? Oh my god. Finally TLN go down. Capybara. It was one Watson, guys. But the Capybara do get the 3 KP as a result. I suppose we won't ask too many questions about it. You did say it wasn't the only hot drop that happened. This is, however, our first squad wipe. One kill, however, found elsewhere on the map as comms start to push up in their contested drop over by barometer.
Yeah, no other kill locked. Nessie's just unfortunately running with a two-person squad this game. So
Thank you.
we have not missed any action. Comms, though, definitely looking for something here, and I'm not sure taking the low ground on here is going to be the right call. Horizon lift to try and get them up, but Comms already down one as they hold on to this area as best they can. Just throw everything down, and Comms now just relying on Samurai Sky to get through the rest of this game, most likely.
Yeah, that's going to be a good look for aggro, I will say, as this is their map, you would assume, given how they've already been playing today. Natty Nunez and the squad should have a really good time picking up straggling teams. Comms one of those already. However, we also have seen aggro perhaps not focus so much on cleaning up the last couple members of teams, taking the kills as they come and then continuing on their motion. They go with the flow.
Absolutely here. And I don't think the flow is working with them in this game. Gonna be entirely honest on that one. But
Aggro?
Comms, uh, we'll see. Oh, we
Whoa.
have points.
All right.
JSA, hey, we let you
we
know.
interrupt this game to bring you your points. This is actually a really good time to do it as well because
Yeah,
not too much is
definitely.
happening. JSA, 40 points, 7 points separate them from 3 different squads as EOS, VSK, and Veneer are tied for second. This game is actually going to be super important for them specifically. EOS, VSK, Veneer. Haven't seen them fall yet, but let's jump back into the game and see if we can keep tabs on those 3.
Yeah, important to note, Arc is in the running as well at 30 points. A 10-point differential is generally where you're going to draw the line. But we do check back in. Samurai Sky doing the same as always and trying to keep her team in this game as long as possible.
I think that what Comms has not yet realized that we did very early on into this game is that aggro doesn't care. They already got their kills. They've mentally moved on. This
The
game is
blood
not about
price
finding a
has
third
been
anymore.
paid. we have been sated.
Exactly. Control freaks. We'll see what they end up doing here. I really, truly have no idea if aggro is still here or not. Their playstyle is way too moving around the map for me to know, but thank you to our observers for giving us the little ping that aggro are in fact on the low ground just now, spotting that the team has taken their previous height. Control freaks getting a little bit aggressive on this, as Winks already taken a little bit of damage. This is far enough away that neither team has to take this engagement, but aggro probably will.
I don't agree with that decision, but it is a decision nonetheless. And now Control Freaks maybe going to go for the push here. This is interesting. This is riding a lot of your game on just a essentially 3v3 here. And now Control Freak's going to go for those air nades, see what they get out of it. And now the damage is being done. 101 right out the gate there. My favorite.
Still getting shot at underneath this bridge. Does need to take the zip up to be able to fight literally on the same level as everyone else. Winks still waiting for the gravity lift as well, is going to be fighting from a deficit. Everyone from aggro is piled up on top of each other, but they've still managed to hold out this spot that, like you talked about, Control Freaks dropped down to be able to access. We've seen this very position claim teams already, and Control Freaks are risking it all to try and disengage from aggro.
I really don't like playing from this position either. I think this is very much a bait play to be made here. I don't think there is ever really a great time to play from here unless you are chasing a team down that is low. You can see Control Freaks maybe paying the price for that as they are taking shots on all angles here. Wink's gonna back away and shield that up, but I don't think Control Freaks has a good way to get out of this unless they can get their team all together in a spot where Valk ult can happen.
Meanwhile, we've got kills being found elsewhere on the map. Santa Daddy finding a knock, and Control Freaks still somehow managing to evade the death that we were sure was coming for them. They've still managed to even find a nice escape route here, right back to Barometer where they began. So we've essentially lost a bunch of resources and pressed reset on this fight. Aggro letting them get away with this for the meantime. Don't want to try and push up onto height either, and the game goes on elsewhere. JSA are continuing their rotation in. No kills just yet, but a replicator has already given them a nice head start on loot when compared to a lot of other squads that'll be rotating in, and they're gonna have to keep moving towards Barometer as this ring does pull further into the east.
It is getting some nice shots down here. We mentioned Santa Daddy and we mentioned UTFT. They are running an interesting composition, by the way, of Seer, Bloodhound, and Crypto, which is a lot of scans. It is all inning on the scans, and Team
the
Nothing
ICU composition.
Yeah. It is one that I'm not honestly sure what the game plan entirely is for it, to be entirely honest.
Well, we'll get the opportunity to discover, I'm sure, or they'll melt. But I get the feeling that UTFT, who have given us at least a few squad wipes in the first 3 games of the day, have got something up their sleeves. They're going to give us a little special in this first game on Stormpoint. The now you see me, now you see me, now you see me. Calm.
Yeah, but Crypto's off the grid, so you can't see him. So it is now you see me, now you see me, now you don't.
Yeah.
It runs a little better.
It absolutely does. The now you don't does really have to be in there, because otherwise you just sound like the beginning of like some remix song on YouTube in the 2000s.
Or
You know
like
that?
you're
And they don't
not
stop
sure where
coming,
you
and they
are
don't
anymore.
stop coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. You know the
It
song?
is
You know,
very one of my favorites actually.
I'm gonna tell you a story, Tessa.
Okay.
I used to work in an escape room, which, as you can imagine, on a Wednesday isn't a super popular activity, but
Mhm.
it's open. And one Wednesday, I went in, and I was one of
Backpack
two
here.
people
Level 3.
on shift, and I was in charge. So I played that song for 8 hours, and then we left.
You are a maniac.
Yeah.
You give off this air of like I am a normal human being, and you really aren't.
I'm just glad we got to share in this moment. We'll get to share this one too. EOS finding themselves a 3v3. Last time got a little unlucky up against JSA. Statistically, this isn't them, and we know because we literally saw JSA elsewhere on the map. This isn't them. So EOS get to feel a little bit more confident in this fight. Drops down onto the low ground. Kali off angle gets one. Shoots two separate people in the back. This Exodia should be able to finish this off, and one knock comes in. The classic double swing that we've seen from so many of our successful teams today works from Kalia and Odd and EOS. They don't even make it look difficult.
I was a little concerned on the start of that because I did see Kyla dropping down while Odd was still trying to go for the shield pad. We do see Dopamine coming in now, though, and this may be a little bit more of a problem. Dopamine known for being a very good skirmishing team, and EOS still trying to shield up, still trying to reset off of that last fight. They've got to be very careful about this.
Odd gets the bat off in time. Akalia is down. Exodia is playing around the outside, waiting for the go button from the rest of the squad, but Odd can't quite call this. No opening damage. Exodia finally takes this game into her own hands, dealing some nice DPS as down comes the mobile respawn, getting ready for bringing Kalia back into the game later on. This ring isn't going to push anyone too much further, but EOS do need to regain control before this banner times out.
Yeah, they've got to be able to try and get in there, but I don't see a good way for them to be able to do so. And they are able to hold this area at the very least for the ring, but the pressure that they have on them is this Exodia is gonna get very low, and that's one down. Odd gonna fall as well. EOS falling at 16th again. No real points gained here from another fight. Just 3 points off of the squad wipe, and that is it.
And it's the revenge of Dopamine, who finally get back at EOS for the 1 point differential of last week, saying this time it won't be just the 1 point. Expletives. Dopamine get the chance to take this game, as we saw Exodia do earlier, into their own hands. 3 KP already, and it looks like they'll be collecting another 3 as they currently have a 2v1 advantage. Gigalotum does eat that thermite just a little bit, but they should be able to recover here. And their own defensive thermite really does help out with that. I suspect the res going to come through soon, but they're biding their time until, I suppose, the scan comes in. I don't know. Dopamine, they feel confident. Capybara, they feel dead.
They certainly do. And that will be Dopey getting kill leader here. 5 of the 6 kills that team has gotten onto Dopey here. We'll get off JSA in a fight, though. Not for long, though, as Carlita takes them down. Girl and Janie getting taken out by aggro here. And that is a clean reset available for them as well. So they are going to be just fine. Ring pulling in towards their direction, and aggro actually looking to be in a very good spot here.
That's aggro's revenge for last game. Being able to take out JSA, this time in a clean 3v3. That's a really good way for them to get back into it, not just in terms of the points, but in terms of the mojo that they lost last time. VSK feeling pretty confident as well over by Antenna in a pretty difficult to play ring pull. We haven't talked too much about the ring because it's been so fight heavy. I'm sorry, UTFT. We did miss you leaving us, but let's take a look at where this is going because it's very wide open.
It is very wide open here as we do see BSK just holding desperately onto this spot. And now Ring really just going to be pulling us out into the open here. All of these teams at Antenna, they're going to have to just go into this hilly area. Right where that camera is at is where the start of that ring is, and it goes behind us from here. So it is not the easiest spot to hold. We have seen some scenarios where teams that do have something like a Watson can set up and hold this area very, very well, but it is basically hard as hell to do unless you are
Mhm.
running that.
Watch out, dears. Bad in
I
your
like
path.
that we did get just a teaser at the very end there. Dopamine are now starting to scan the ring. They'll be able to prioritize their own position in the zone, likely getting a little bit of extra high ground. Arc, sort of as an afterthought, are finding kills as Loch Nessie's rotation into the zone is just a little too late for them to actually make it in. It's a couple kills that go over, and Arc feel a little bit better, especially not being in this cluster of teams that's going to have to make their exodus out of Antenna. Every one of these teams feels bad, except for maybe Nice Girls. Except for maybe Nice Girls.
Possibly here, as we
Hmm.
do see Carlita, Nettie Nunez trying to pop around here, but damage coming from all sides. Carlita gonna go down. The smoke comes out, but I don't think it's doing them any favors as Yu-Gi-Oh! And Natty Nunez gonna have to run down. Samurai Sky alone here, gonna go down, but not before taking some people out in the process, and Aggro and Comms go out at just exactly the same time there. Unfortunate for Aggro as they were on such a great run, but still points gained for them in what really hasn't been the greatest day.
No, but I'm taking a look at the way this positioning has evolved, and when we saw a whole squad fall here, when we saw Lush try and take advantage of the chaos, what's standing out to me is that the Nice Girls who were in this building are now on the high ground. They are one of two teams that hold this ridge line, and it's just Dopamine on the other side who are playing way, way far back to see how Nice Girls take advantage of this as to whether they can use this ridge line
Let's
to
go here.
turn this game into a win. We'll have to stay tuned and find out. Control Freaks are going to be coming up behind them, and this could be a big turning
Let's
point
go
in the
here.
game.
It could be a big turning point in the current state of the match here. Control Freaks have not had much happen in their favor today. So getting a good, they have had such a good game this time around here. They could get a good landing spot. It's not looking very likely, but Control Freaks still holding on desperately. Favorite should be able to get that shield bat off, and we will return.
Our
Everybody
Lust
got.
here.
When did they get over there?
They just got here. It must have been a Valkyl. That's the only explanation. But unfortunately, that Valkyl probably not a very fruitful one. They are being naded to death, and Lust on 100 collective health have two squads looking straight at them. One gonna clean him up right now. That is something that is absolutely now gone in the favor of the Control Freaks so far today. They get that extra little boon given over to them. Lust go down, and we are into the top four as Dopamine have pushed themselves a little far into a corner. They had this entire space to play with, and now they got 3 rocks.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. They tried to maneuver up to get some of that KP, but what that did is it gave VSK the opportunity to walk up here and claim some of this hill for themselves. So now Dopamine have a little bit less to play for. They're just gonna full send it here. They have the shield advantage. Now we'll see if they can make something out of that. Lots of damage going down from Dopey, who's gonna just go up above the car. Not the greatest in this longer range here. Gonna fall down. Two are down, and hopefully Dopamine can pull this one out. I believe it is just a 1v1 now. This Nasty gonna be able to keep them alive there. Control Freaks just barely going down in 4th place. A very good game for them, but now Dopamine trying to reset desperately as Giggle Autumn just barely avoiding some shots on the outside.
It was a little too close for comfort, but I believe this reset is going to come in time. 3 squads left, and only a decision to play for second would have you full sending it down onto the low ground now. Dopamine should be safe from that, at least for the moment, but 2 different squads looking at them, VSK and Nice Girls. They will have to pick which they're going up against, or it'll be decided for them. Miss Dopey grabs a little bit more loot. The Nice Girls prepare. With Movana off on this flank, though, they are crucially separated. And VSK, they're one of the few teams that can take advantage of a move like that with their own use of Catalyst.
It almost feels like Nice Girls aren't fully aware that Dopamine are over on this side. They're kind of avoiding them, but VSK is very aware of this and they want to go for it. A nice use of the Catalyst wall will give them some cover as they try and take some fights, but the damage may already be done here. As Movana, Pretty Bond Girl, they're waiting to see which team pulls the trigger first. And look at how evenly spaced they are, how much of that area they are taken. And now
it's going to go down. As soon as this wall goes down, we're going to be down a squad. There's just no two ways about it. It is temporary cover alone provided by this wall. And as the Dark Veil falls, Nice Girls get to farm up a little too late. VSK decide to play for second and instead just give over 3 kills. And now it's Nice Girls up against Dopamine. Can Dopamine find this win? They are arcing it to high heavens as, oh Lord, how are Dopamine still alive? Gigalottom's getting double pushed right now. Pretty Bond Girl and Movana right on the outside of this fence line. We're waiting for Miss Dopey to be prepared to fight. Slow healing are these members of Dopamine still. 2v2 on this side of the fence. Support from up above. Miss Dopey and Crestep could take a 1v1, but instead Dopey pops up, throws out that horizontal, doesn't catch anyone, and swings around the outside of the fence. Now getting pushed by Movana. She jumps right back over. Nasty takes the 1v1 with Pretty Bond Girl, but instead gets 3v1 beamed as Gigalottom and Dopey have to come around the corner and try to figure this out. Dopey 1v1 against Crestep, health disadvantage, and a shotgun to the face cleans it all up. As we've got our win coming in for Nice Girls.
Nice Girls played that very, very well. Dopamine, unfortunately, I think kind of threw that a little bit with one person jumping out over the top, trying to get in on that fight and go for the flank on the 2 people over there. But Crestep hanging back, waiting for that flank to try and happen, was ready for the fight, did not see them coming at all. But because of the just crazy amount of kills Dopamine were able to secure for themselves, Dopamine actually get the most points out of this match.
Yeah, that confidence really ends up paying off, and 21 points is, I mean, that's a win. It's, even if you had placed first, we don't see some squads hit 21 points, and the fact that they're able to do it by only placing second and absorbing as many kills they did in the mid game, really impressive stuff. The Nice Girls also a commanding victory, as they at the very least were able to use the position they rotated to early out of Antenna and make use consistently throughout the map of how other teams were moving. As soon as the fight broke out in Antenna, they took high ground. As soon as there were multiple teams contesting for high ground, they got to back off to Gravity Cannon and watch everyone else fight each other before finally engaging. It's really good, calculated play that keeps Nice Girls safe and near the top of the leaderboard.
I really also want to point out Control Freaks and Aggro being up high on the leaderboard because, once again, 2 teams that we have not seen much from today, getting high ranks here, getting some really solid points. This is a very wide spread of points that we usually don't see in these games. Usually we have 1 or 2 or 3 squads that are really going above everybody else. That's not what's happening today. Everybody's getting points today, and it is going to make the final couple games here really tense because the amount of points you could get from a game, it means anybody can try to get up into those top spots.
And when you say the final couple games, you mean it literally. We've got only 2 more games left to fight for those top positions. And as you've already illustrated, Tessa, it is so close. Closer than it was last week, it seems. With only those 2 games left, we're going to take a short breather before we jump into game number 5. Welcome back, everyone. Let's take a look overall leaderboards as we jump into game number 5, the penultimate game of the day. You know I love that word, Tessa. 43 points for VSK. JSA behind them with 41, but VSK surprisingly jumping out to a lead.
Yeah, I mean, you can see too that they've just not really been engaging in as many fights as some of these other top teams. But I think the biggest thing has just been they have been the consistent team on the day. They have always been relevant going into those late game rings. And while I don't think they've really had an opportunity to win any of them, they are getting there. They have not had the slip ups like we've seen some of the other teams like Veneer and EOS and JSA have in the earlier games. It has always been a conversation that VSK has at least been included on.
Mhm. And that's the really nice thing, especially when we consider the way that VSK are playing today, experimenting with their own sort of style and trying to make this catalyst work. They're one of the few teams that we saw even go for it, and they're
Mhm.
in the game on Stormpoint, our first one of the day, and they've been running it since even before then as well. Bottom half of the leaderboard getting lit up by teams like Comms and Team Nothing, just on the border here. Aggro a little further down, I think understandably have been taking a lot of fights that don't really go their way. But the Night Sisters, I got to give them some love, sitting at 20th place. Go out there, get some kills, ladies.
We'll see if they are capable of doing it as we go into game 5 here. And just taking a look, just right out the gate, because I wanted to see if UTFT were going to run back that composition. They have changed pretty much
A lot.
everything about it. Yeah, it is Seer is the same, but now it's Vantage and oh my goodness,
Newcastle?
Newcastle. Yeah, I don't know why. I have not seen Newcastle in a while, and the name escaped me.
You're not a Newcastle hater, are you?
I'm
I
not a
know.
Newcastle hater. I was actually surprised it took him as long as he did to get in the meta. I just don't see him very much is the problem. I am not a Newcastle player for sure.
Understandable, understandable. Do you still play a lot of Bloodhound?
I do play a lot of Bloodhound. I have actually I played nothing but Vantage the season she came out,
Mm-hmm.
and I have this season started moving back to Bloodhound because I think it just works better for me, despite the fact that I really want to play Vantage.
I got some clips to send you actually. Vantage.
I think he showed me them.
Yeah. Oh, I might
Yeah.
have. I might have. It's so infrequent that I do anything impressive in this game that I recycle the same things over and over. Aggro, however, they've been doing some impressive stuff today, and I'm glad that they've gotten some time to shine with their control of Barometer just last game. It hasn't turned into a fight for them just yet this time around. Our 5th game deep. Aggro are still looking for fights, but perhaps not with as much tenacity, given that Nunez, who found so many knocks for them just last game, is still operating on white shields. They'll take a little bit of time to loot up, I imagine, and then start moving their way north. As Aggro are a team that, as we talked about earlier, I like to characterize as being constantly in motion.
Level 2.
Absolutely, I think they are just true to their name in every step of the word, at least from what we have seen today. I do want to see a little bit of improvement on some decision making. We have seen them kind of full send some situations that have not been ideal to full send on. But I think overall, mechanically, this team does have the makings of something good, and obviously showed itself as we have seen them get into some of these late game rings now and start to really succeed on this Stormpoint map.
Yeah, the exit from Barometer here will be a little bit tough. I'm really surprised that Carlita has not chosen to change up the loadout here. R99 and Car is very, very scary, but not so much at long range. The rest of aggro are going to have to shoulder that burden as we get later on into this map, especially because we haven't been able to solve the problem of overall health. Their move through Jurassic, though, should mean that this is a little bit safer, as you're not crossing out through Shipfall where you can get long-range aggroed on. Jurassic does tend to be a little bit more close quarters.
Well, I think what's important to note here is Carlita's playing into what makes Bangalore good right now, and it is you want to fight people short range and use the smoke and kill any auto aim possibility.
Hmm.
or aim assist possibility. You want to take that out and just utilize your close range and just shoot better realistically. But that is exactly what you want to be doing with Bangalore. So I do understand if you are going to go a double SMG loadout on anybody, Bangalore is currently the one that you want to do it on.
That's true. That is absolutely the case. And you know what? I hope that it works well because it can be really stylish. I've seen double car even be used recently to not great effect, but fun effect. Now we get to see, however, how TLN move to perhaps greater effect than we've seen in the past. Phoenix already very low from WKL gets sucked right back out by the Horizon ult and into the waiting jaws of TLN as they claim their first kill of Game 5.
Yeah, LNW also going out very early once again here. Not been their day this day, but they will give some
Whoa.
points over. Control Freaks also falling here. So that is, one of our top teams from last game going down immediately, and that is by Lust. And one of the main things we've said about Lust is that they are a momentum-based team, but they've already lost another member as they are getting jumped on before they can reset. As you can see, we are looking at Baby Ducks and Friends in trouble here.
The way Charlotte's playing right now, a little tricksy, doesn't have a whole lot of room to maneuver though, and that does ultimately bite them. Lust get taken down by JSA, who roll up just that much faster, and it's in a difficult spot to get out of as well. I mean, low ground on checkpoint, it's very easy for teams to walk up to you from both below and above you, as many squads will take their rotation through here. JSA, ultimately the ones to come out on top, of course, and they've got lots of options. As long as another squad doesn't come through, they've got the Valk they can take. They can move through either side, but we're going to tune in with Veneer and see what they're doing in the meanwhile, as Wraiths is certainly pushing the envelope on what is possible with this Bloodhound, getting really aggressive and not taking a whole lot of damage, just really throwing bullets out there to make sure that at the very least you get a little bit of loot. Good damage was dealt on the way out, but hasn't actually been followed up on yet by the rest of Veneer.
Purdue just very behind on this, but they are doing some damage. We see Ashway and Valdussi going very low here as Vernier has to deal with some spiders in the process. Might not
That's
be able to
VSK.
get any KP. I'm sorry?
That was VSK that they were chasing.
Yeah, not able to do anything yet, but Vernier, I'm sure, will continue their push on as they are wont to do.
Anybody taking out VSK at this point in the game, of course, would be a big shakeup of our standings, as we've already seen that without even finding themselves a win today, VSK are currently topping the overall leaderboards. Same cannot be said of TLN, who are currently playing a little bit more safely. After picking up their first kill of the game, they've chosen to ride the edge of this circle, it seems. A circle that is increasingly pulling us towards the main checkpoint area.
Absolutely here. And it is going to at least push a lot of these teams into a bit of a rough spot, because if you are coming from that eastern side of checkpoint, there are very few opportunities to actually get into checkpoint that do not involve a Valve ultimate. Vernier now into a fight here as Yusaki is getting very low and will try and back out, get that little shield bat off. VSK now in a little bit of trouble. Valdussi in trouble, will go down. Ashway very low themselves, and VSK gonna fall here very early on, opening up this entire lobby here for a lot of teams to claim their points and catch back up.
Yeah, well, Veneer see that and they go, oh, I guess we can hit the top. They're not the only ones who had that thought as soon as the notification dropped. Veneer now have to keep this momentum going, and it's going to be tough in a lobby that is full of fights. Dopamine already taking one as they jump down onto low ground. Gigalaughtum getting real aggressive and should have Dopey to cover. Over around the back, it's Gigalaughtum that ultimately saves Dopey, in fact, being able to take down one and push yet another. Ooh. Out comes the charge rifle at close range, and the Nice Girls bite the dust at the hands of a laser beam.
Yeah, Dopamine doing what they do best of just running people down, and Nice Girls not going to be able to replicate what they had in the previous game. TLN, another one of those teams that we have seen play very consistently generally. Very slow paced, but they have had a lot of great placement points. JSA also holding on. We are seeing a JSA God spot coming up, and we saw what happened last time. They had an entirely just obscenely perfect area to themselves.
Yeah, I really appreciate that after pushing down onto the low ground to clean up a few kills, JSA have found their way back. It's very EOS of them, especially when we consider the way that Game 1 played out on World's Edge, right? You get out of God Spot, you go back into God Spot, and it's just fine. Nobody is going to take it away from you. It will be Veneer that will be approaching from the low ground, it seems, as they take the rotation down onto what I know Zephyr likes to call the hot dog buildings to take a fight with EOS even, who are in their own 3v3.
I need an explanation for that one, but right now we have EOS fighting. We'll get into that later. Veneer looking to try and see what they can do here. Gonna go up onto this high ground using that Horizon as best they can and see if they can get something out of that. One person over on the side, they're aware the Bloodhound has scanned that out, and they are gonna see if they can keep this one out.
Oh my god, Yusaki!
Hit him down. She's so good!
What are you doing to him? That's a squad fight, plain and simple. Up in the skies, a charge rifle trained on the Valk. It looks like there will be at least one escapee from EOS, but good God, that was such a clean pick from Yusaki.
And to put that in perspective too, that's on Odd, who is on EOS, the team that has been winning almost half of the game. Like, that's not anybody. That is one of the top players that we have had in this league that just got beamed down by Yusaki. Incredible mechanical skill there. And Lavender now we're going to check in on as they are holding on to this zone, seeing if they can peek out on these teams on the edge of this ring.
Not wanting to extend too far, there are other squads that will be looking at this. JSA, potentially one of them, depending on how crowded Checkpoint is getting. 14 squads, so you do have a little bit more maneuverability than you otherwise might in endgame circles, but the Night Sisters seem to be all out of that very same space that I was just talking about. They're sitting in ring to avoid shots right now, and it's only zone 2.
Yeah, and they're burning through meds as fast as they can. It's not looking great. They're going to go for this Valkyrie, but the problem is that going for this, they're going to get shot. They may lose this Bloodhound here off of the ring. No, the shot will possibly take down this deal. They're going to try and get in onto the side here. I don't think that they're going to be very likely to get anything out of this. I think it's just going to be another unfortunate end for Night Sisters.
Unlucky for at least losing the one member, but the rest of Night Sisters survive for now. For how long? We'll see. But Miss Adil at least won't be joining them. UTFT pick up that kill, and Veneer from this low ground just have to defend their own rotation in. This should be relatively unchallenged as long as they can hold out this northern chokehold, or what's this called? Choke point? I'm missing all my FPS knowledge now. Where'd it go? Choke.
I have stolen it from you.
Is it just called a choke?
It is called a choke.
It's one of those things where, you know, like if you read the word like teach a lot, you'll go, that's not how
it's not a real
works.
word.
That's what I'm getting right now.
Yeah, no, I've been in that situation before. But it is choke point, and JSA
not chokehold. Does anyone call it chokehold?
Chokehold also works, but chokehold is also like physically choking somebody with a like a wrestling move. So JSA still gonna hold on to this, but they do have friends in the area now, as you can see. We do have Arc around, and we do have Woomy and friends from WKL. That is a 2-person squad. Remember, they did lose out on their lifeline earlier this game. But JSA is still holding the vast majority of this high ground that they want to keep.
Seeming very confident with the way that they've played this out so far. JSA do have very little real estate when compared to other squads, so the confidence with which they've put themselves here does have to pay off later, and I appreciate that they aren't just all in one building. They've got that little extension off to the side to control the only other spot in Checkpoint that will have a building left to protect it. Aggro needing some protection now, unfortunately, aren't going to have it. No smoke to cover the exit in time. And they do lose Yu-Gi-Oh! Knockdown shield. It's going to be a lifeline here, but not enough, because that zone, we've seen it before. Zone 3 hurts.
Zone 3 hurts, and more importantly, too, Checkpoint does not have a lot of great... Oh, no, you're not going to get... Oh.
One more! One! No!
Oh! Aggro
Unlucky.
going down. But that is kind of the problem of Checkpoint. Checkpoint could be called Choke Point because there are so little entrances that you can get in through that do not mean flying over it. So it just takes so many teams out in it. And we're going to see Capybara here just try and maneuver up, get into this next ring that is close by. But they know they have teams close by that will be firing at them. And they are starting to get the aggression coming their way.
Estige eats a few bullets and does have at least the safety of this side of the ring. They are still technically in at this point, and honestly, I'd likely be staying here. Only one squad looking down at them. That's the biggest problem right now, as Amari, with a good off angle, does have the opportunity to pick up some KP and Arcstar to unseat that specific player. Means that you get a little bit safer, but as long as Capybara can hold on to this corner of the ring, the better.
Absolutely, they're going to be able to do what they can for now, but a lot of teams going to be looking this way. And once that ring does close, there is not a lot of room to play with. Capybara going to just have to work with what they got, and good place nades will cause them problems that they do not have answers to right now.
Veneer still in this game as well. Will be approaching from the low ground, and they are a team that has been on the warpath today. 8 kills, the most in the lobby so far. They've got, what is this, 2,000, almost 3,000 damage. They are also doubling everyone else's damage in the lobby as a team right now. So
over half that damage is Yusaki, by the way, who
Yusaki's
is
going
currently farming more damage as we speak. But I really, honestly, this game right now is between, I think, two different teams, and it is JSA and Veneer, because Veneer do have that momentum going for themselves, but JSA have held that spot for so long, and they are not out. It's not like they have not had some momentum going themselves. About 1,500 damage on them as well. So that's really, I think, the two teams I'm keeping my eye on. If I had to place bets, I would put it on either JSA or Veneer.
Yeah, Capybara unfortunately aren't getting any love from us right now, but it's because of how low down they are. I mean, you talked about JSA's height. What on earth are you going to do against that? And it's not just Capybara. So many other teams have to face off against this seemingly indomitable advantage as well. There is some good news, though, if you are a Veneer fan, because the fact that they've been able to claim just this little bit of low ground relatively confidently is nice. They've got that Wraith portal to sort of dip back and forth.
Yeah, they have the capability there. They got to make sure they're on the right side of it when they do go through it on the final time. But they will just hold off for now, and just looks like they're going to try and hold up on this high ground for the time being. Similar to JSA, the rest of these teams, though, they're going to have to move over. You can see it's getting tough here. This next ring is going to eliminate, I would say, at least 5 of these squads, because there is very little cover. And now Capybara going to start to move up. The Seer exhibit has been thrown down, and they want this building. They know they can win if they get this building.
And honestly, Capybara, as long as they can hold outside of this building, have a good shot at surviving the next zone close. These two teams on the inside will likely be fighting each other. But Capybara just need to make sure that they aren't the focus. Right above them, a little bit of a problem emerges as an Arcstar deals just that extra tick of damage to Capybara. Estage going low. They've got to take a reset in this corner, but nobody seems interested in pushing out to finish Capybara, who are already right on the edge of leaving us, as nobody else wants to give up. Amazing position they've got in building.
Yeah, seeing a little bit of I would say this is like a New York apartment. We are sharing a house right now.
Mhm.
You get the bottom floor, we get the top floor. There is at least a little bit of an agreement. It's comms does go down in the process. Look at how many squads want this building.
Team Nothing on the high ground, maybe the ones in the best position, is that move from Capybara is a little bit risky, putting themselves in the line of fire of a lot of other teams. Veneer around the outside of this ring included. They've got just this tree to play and somehow are making it work.
Yeah, right now Veneer kind of just doing what they do best of being able to just win fights against people. They are scanning there, getting some damage down. Ring is going to hurt right now, but Yusaki only takes a tick. And they have the capability of just swapping out what they need, getting those extra consumables that they need to pick up before they run over and see if they can maneuver forward here. Luckily, because so many teams are valuing that one specific building, they have the capability to kind of play this slow. We
Lavender.
see, yeah, Lavender, unfortunately, looking like things are going to be a problem for them. JSA gonna just run in. They are taking some damage though. Girl taking some shots on the other side, but they do take Lavender and claim this building for themselves for now.
That's a Veneer call as well. JSA were only able to do this because Veneer moved away. It is a small motion for JSA, though, who have no defensive utility here. They don't have the Gibraltar, they don't have the Newcastle, and Veneer are looking straight at them. Screw the teams leaving the building next door. Veneer know exactly who they've got to focus on, and JSA trying to wrap around through what was previously Veneer territory are going to take this isolated 3v3. We've got two different fights, the ones with teams leaving the building and the ones with JSA trying to fight around the outside. They've lost Luciana, and damage from Girl doesn't seem to be enough, even with the Seer scan. JSA don't have enough control over Veneer. Yusaki is so low. Everybody else start eating zone damage as well. Yusaki on 10 health, maybe, and doesn't get hit by the Valk missiles as Instep finds enough and the full thirst onto Janie. JSA are on just one member, and Veneer don't have time to reset. They lose one. Instep is down. Great is still working for the win, and Yusaki on full health with no shields is in this as well. JSA get taken down. Capybara, they're out. Team Nothing emerge victorious from the building, but Yusaki doesn't stop! Popping up on top, helping take out Capybara, helping take out Team Nothing. We've got just one squad left. It's UTFT versus Veneer, who are trapped in this corner, who have nowhere to go. Yusaki gonna try and portal them out, but it is an exercise in futility as UTFT take game 5.
I actually really liked the play that it looked like was going to happen there. Go for the portal and see if they follow and put it in the ring. So if they try to chase you, they will go in the ring. You run back in, but not able to make that happen. UTFT, who we did see on the bottom of that building there, held that, got out of that. We didn't see exactly how it happened, but they got out of that situation and pulled themselves into the fight with Veneer as JSA and Veneer ate each other alive for that final fight there in UTFT, there to clean it up at the end.
They really did. I loved that fight between JSA and Veneer. Those were two teams that knew who was in charge, and watching them fight it out, Veneer ultimately come out on top to great effect. 13 kills places them 10 points above JSA in game number 5. UTFT, despite the fact they got that win, didn't get as many kills, but I we didn't mention this because it wasn't really the most impressive thing about their win. They did actually find the win with the new composition they were trialing. Seer, Vantage, and Newcastle. It worked. Is it
It
low
did.
ground? Is it the comp? Who knows? But that's a win for UTFT, and I suspect they at least stick with this one more time.
Yeah, I mean, hey, getting 9 kills out of that, something about that composition worked. I don't know exactly
Mhm.
what it was, but something did. And you could see they really were able to pull out some points here that, once again, UTFT, not a team that we had seen very much from, but they have a nice boost in points now. I think what's most important to take a look at, though, is the bottom of our leaderboard, because we have VSK on there. We have Lust, who were not able to do much after their squad wipe, and just an unfortunate game, which will shake up the leaderboards once again.
I like that you mentioned those leaderboards because it's the overall that we're going to be taking a look at when we return, as we are prepping ourselves for game number 6, the last game of the day, the one that'll put us almost into the playoffs with just one more week of Celestial Cup left after this. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be right back with game number 6, the final game of the day. This is it, Tessa. This is the last game of the day of week 8 of the Soul League. Let's take a look at the overall leaderboards to see who is close to the top. Tessa, go for it.
Yeah, we got Vernier up at the top after the absolute monster of a game they had last time, and JSA still keeping themselves relevant. And VSK, unfortunately, after that game, not getting anything cost them big time, down 10 points compared to the top two. EOS also just on the outskirts of a top spot there for a 18-point game with both Veneer and JSA going down. I would usually say that would not be a possibility, but we
Yeah.
have seen a lot of early exits from these teams today.
Yeah. It is difficult to predict, I think, as you called out earlier in the day. What will happen in game number 6? So at Veneer, they've had the best day. The worst day, unfortunately, belongs to my girls out there, the Night Sisters. Go on, slay out game number 6. You can take the gloves off now. TLN right ahead of them with 8 points, and Loch Nessie is tied for 19th.
Yeah, as we do get into game 6, keep your eyes on the early fights, because, oh boy, with what we have seen today, I do not count any of our top 5 teams out, really. Like, I feel like there is a possibility we see VSK, JSA, and Veneer all go down early. I'm pretty sure we've had a game where that has happened.
Yeah. I might actually have it. I might actually have it in my notes. You know what? I'll find it later. I got to focus on what's going on right now, especially since aggro, I'm sure, are going to pick a fight if they get the opportunity. This time, they've all got the shields, and again, landing contested at Barometer. I'd be going for it. Maybe their priority is a little different though.
Yeah, we will see. They have such good shields right out the gate here. Capybara also running, once again, we are seeing a lot of very interesting compositions, which I know usually is like nice speak for that composition sucks, but I very genuinely mean that these are interesting compositions.
Yeah.
Of just the Newcastle alongside the Watson, bringing a lot of defensive capability alongside of a Valkyrie in order to position yourselves. I'm really thinking that this team is a team that is looking to try and get a late game position and hold that extremely hard.
Yeah, I mean, and for teams that are approaching playoffs confidently, that are sure they're going to qualify, why not? Why not change things up? We've been seeing UTFT do it all day, trying to find the comp that works best for them, because it may not be about their performance today. It could very well be about how they're going to perform in the playoffs against the best competition that the Soul League has had to offer so far. That's what all these teams are preparing for, and unfortunately, as they move down into Barometer, comms are vastly underprepared for a fight in game number 6. All white shields, barely any loot, and unfortunately, aggro's taken all of it in front of them.
Yeah, unfortunate for them. Sometimes you just do not get the roll here, and comms did not pick up much of anything for themselves, and they really got to be careful here, because running into aggro is not going to work out well for them. We talked about how they're a team, aggro are a team that does have some issues in terms of their decision making, but if they've got the shield lead, which I would expect, they know they have a shield lead on anybody right now, they're just gonna run it at you, and they are damn good at that.
They really are. That is their trademark. It is in their name, as you called out just last game. Comms, however, unfortunately, aren't finding themselves too proximal to aggro. They're playing things pretty close to the chest here over by Barometer. And hey, they've got a beacon to use as well. I'm sure they've already scanned it. Wonder Neki likely on top of that for the rotations in later, but they're electing to try and take a little bit more of an edge move into this zone, and that's exactly what comms are going to need if they want to be close to touching the top of the leaderboard. We already know they aren't in the top 5, and it's tough to contest the teams that are.
Absolutely. Here, Dopamine, though, are a team to be a team to be trifled with. And they are going to go for the aggression here, already getting some chip damage down, but that is a purple shield they've got to contend with here. That is our team of the Watson and the Newcastle here, so very difficult to push, but not exactly impossible. Dopey on the outside, gonna take down one. Lavillian does fall, and they are gonna push onto the opposite side here, get that damage down, just poke down, drop down for the reload, get down the rest of them, and Dopamine should be cleaning this one up easily. Loch Nessie's gonna be our first team out in game 6.
That's an additional 3 points over to Dopamine as well. Loch Nessies unfortunately don't get the chance to push themselves any further in the leaderboards, but Dopamine are starting to get a little too close to Arc for Arc to be comfortable. That's now 36 points to the 37 that Arc have so far, and maybe, just maybe, Dopamine can overtake, putting themselves closer to where they were just last week. As Lust are starting to round the corner in Millage, they've got a little while left until they hit Jurassic. It's okay, it's fine. That's what everyone calls it. Lust have the opportunity to pick up a few KP themselves, and for a squad that I think I've characterized as being very aggressive in the past, they've had a little bit of a, if you'll forgive the pun, lackluster day.
Yeah, lack friendship day. We're gonna keep making this joke, and new people are gonna come in, and they are gonna be very confused. But Lust gonna try to play this one pretty slowly here. They do have to be careful. One of the things that you always have to keep in mind when you're using the seer exhibit there is that you are putting a massive literal light show up in the sky that can attract other teams, and you can see it already starting to work here as we have ESO coming up on their backsides.
Yeah, this is the fight. This is where we start to determine the fate of the day. EOS have fallen down to 4th on the day so far, but taking a fight here would tie them with VSK, would push them into contention for the top 3. Scarlet's got an off angle.
Oh my god!
Exodia! Somehow Exodia is alive, but EOS are on the back foot, and Odd has got to tank so much damage to keep this from being their last stand. Scarlet gets to escape, just shields down. Exodia fires back from the low ground, just barely having popped the shield pad, but EOS are already on the ropes, and Baby Ducks comes up, almost takes down Odd. The knock comes through. EOS are down 1.
Yeah, meanwhile, look at the top of the scoreboard there. Letsiata taking out Yusaki. There is a lot of fighting happen all over the place right now, but we are still going to keep it over here. We have Kyla going low there. Exodia going to get beamed down, and now we are seeing another team move in. Lust going to have to try and finish this one quickly, and they are going to lose one. No shields on anybody, but Exodia does get thirsted. Renee goes down. EOS are eliminated. They are out in 18.
Uncomfortably close, but with Lust picking up
That's
an
VSK.
additional 3 kills before they go out. You're right. They've been cleaned up in short order, and it's VSK that are the victors of that, getting themselves even closer to the top 2.
Yeah, they only get 1 KP out of that, so it's not gaining them anything just yet. But you look at JSA here, going to be just maneuvering into this ring slowly but surely. Also running with some KP in their pockets here, 2 in theirs, and Veneer also in trouble. We said it before we got into the game. All of these top teams could run into struggles. That has been the thematic of the day, and it holds true in Game 6.
Yeah, this is not the spot that I'm sure Veneer were aiming for, but also one that we've seen teams like EOS thrive from previously. I say not just survive, but actually thrive, being able to stay alive until quite late into the game. Gonna keep my eye on the kill feed, see if Veneer are able to do that, surviving for as long as possible. This is the main action going on near them. Dopamine have found themselves in engagement and may actually push this squad out towards that last member of Veneer.
Yeah, that would be a major switch up here as Dopamine gonna pull out the swing here, but taking some damage from outside here is we're gonna have to see a couple of people back up, and shields will have to be recharged. So they are going to hold on to this ring for now. LNW, we check in. Not had the greatest day so far, but they are keeping themselves alive, at least for now. And we'll see how that's going to work out for them going forward, because they are taking some shots and getting into a fight as well.
Oh god, Sandwich, this is so rough for them. LNW already spent so much time playing defense on the low ground. Now they find themselves face to face with JSA, who are cleaning up these kills. LNW have 1 member left, but that's not even the most important part of this. Not for them. course. But for the standings, the fact that JSA are picking up these kills is massive.
Yeah, that's another 2 KP, so that is 4 total for them right now. And JSA are going to be very happy with that, hopefully keeping themselves higher and higher on that scoreboard. They are looking for the win today.
We have almost moved ourselves into the top 15 squads as well with 2 rats. Maybe a strong 3 separates us from top 15. LNW gone now. And with just 1 squad left, we're about to start collecting placement points very soon. Something that I normally don't get hyped on, Tessa. You heard the way I said placement points right there, but it can really change the standings in these final games. Just a little bit longer that you can survive. TLN making their push for the KP, perhaps the easier to impact stat on the day, but with Taviola down, they're pushing up into a very aggressive team. Nothing that they don't seem to have a shot at right now. Taviola is going to be difficult to res on the low ground, and TLN have almost semi-permanently, I'd say, crippled themselves down here.
Yeah, they are going to see if they can get that off. Horizon's definitely able to maneuver over to the team, and they are going to get a reset here. It is not exactly the greatest, and it actually will get interrupted. They aren't capable of getting Taviola up. No, they will be permanently down 1 member here as TLN, I think, just waiting to await their fate at the hands of Team Nothing. Watson will make this a lot more difficult, though.
Yeah, pushing right onto TLN, not necessarily the winning strat, but keeping a 2-person squad right below you does feel pretty good. TLN are going to be pushed on. It looks like this is Team Nothing that are going for the kills, so ultimately the 2 KP does mean a little bit more here. It seems that a clean reset was in order and fully now taken down. There's a lot of Watson fences that are still going to be around here, just under new management.
I don't know if that's how they work.
Yeah. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. Capybara, they're alive. They are. And you know what? We haven't talked about the ring too much just yet, but I wonder where this is going. This looks like the one that ends like right. Oh well, it's a good thing our observers pulled this up because I was gonna call that wrong. Yeah, it looks like the one that ends like right outside of the building in the center right here, right near where Night Sisters are. You see that?
Yeah, it's not impossible to get over that way, but definitely not looking likely at this point. You'd assume it's somewhere in and around the Stormcatcher area. And probably likely one of those more outer rings that you can see a lot of in Stormpoint here. Will end up taking a lot of teams down. Look at the current kill feed. Carlita taking down 2 here. Aggro taking away some of the KP that is available for some of these other teams. And when you look at JSA with 4 already, and you have Vernier out, you have EOS out, and then you have teams like Arc, Team Nothing on 1 person here. VSK really have to keep up the pressure here. VSK currently on 4 points as well for kills. It's really just down to the wire. What a beam.
Playing this knockdown is good, but Dopamine's push is better. Dopey and Gigalautum collaborate to take out JSA, whose journey stops with a simple 5-point finish. Not enough to push them close to Veneer. Now that's going to have to fall to someone else.
ESK are the ones capable of doing it here, and I believe they are one of the only teams left up that is in that top 5. I may be wrong about that, but Dopamine now gonna fall as well. BSK are actually the ones that picked that one up. So
oh my
BSK,
god, that's big.
7 kills now going over to them. Now, they are running out of teammates, and now they're going to go down as well.
Oh my god,
What's
Veneer
happening?
are just watching the kill feed right now. Remember, it's a rat from Veneer. It's just Wraiths that's alive and is literally watching the competition drop like flies. I think the only team... I'm checking this. No. No. No, they're all dead. Everyone's dead. Everyone's dead. Veneer... I mean, survival is good. They don't even have to anymore.
Yeah, I think they might have locked it.
They
We'll have to
did.
see.
They did. It's like, it's
Well,
informal
take
because
the
theoretically...
fun out of it, Dia. God.
Theoretically, if... Oh, there we go. Okay, so now that Veneer are down, if one squad kills every person currently alive, they could take first. One squad's got to do it, though. And you know what? If any squad's going to do it, Tessa, it's going to be aggro. So I'm on
very
Team
well could
aggro
be.
right now. Oh, wait.
It-
Night Sisters are still alive. I think I have to be on Team Night Sisters. You can be on Team aggro.
I'm on, but okay, sure.
Do you not want to be on Team aggro?
I don't know who I want to be on. I don't know where I'm at. I mean,
Time
look,
must come, Tessa. We must all pick a side. That's a movie quote from
we're not
somewhere. I don't
supposed to
know.
pick a side. We're casters. We're unbiased.
That's unbiased. Right, let me pull up your tweet real quick. Let me.
No. We're good. I said
I-
nobody tell Dia. Who told Dia?
No. Oh, look at this. Look at that. The ring pull actually biased in itself, pulling down over towards Night Sisters. That's an interesting turn of events.
Yeah, I gotta pull over there. You know, we said could pull over there. Turns out it did. Aggro now
Yeah.
gonna be looking at that ring though and saying we need to get that building. So, aggro, I'm sure, eventually gonna pull the trigger here. But what I do like to see is that they're playing it, you know, a little bit slower here, not just pulling the trigger and going in. Especially seeing those Watson fences in there, you have to play it slow. You will not succeed if you just try and run them down. And I think they're trying to see if some other team is going to be the ones to go first. Now, also worth mentioning, Night Sisters sitting on full blue shields compared to everybody else around them who at least has some purples in their squad. And now it's just going to be very, very difficult to try and, like, if they try and actually fight, they are going to be in trouble.
Yeah, Night Sisters also, unfortunately, don't have the benefit of high ground. They're playing inside the building, but they will have the benefit of maybe being able to throw a wrench into the plans over here. UTFD are trying to push up on aggro. It's a single rat from Team Nothing that is right behind UTFD. Likely gonna get spotted now, but there we go. There we go. That took a surprisingly long time. Goodbye, Team Nothing.
Team Nothing do fall, and now the pressure turns over towards the team behind here. So we are going to check over towards the Stormcatcher area, which has a lot of teams, but nobody in a position that can really be pushed. As soon as one of these squads tries to leave their area, they're going to be in a lot of trouble and in the line of sight of every other squad in the vicinity. So everybody's just kind of waiting, biding their time. But come a minute or so from here, it's going to be, a little rough, as I think Aggro's just lost some players here.
Certainly could be. Carlita's very low right now,
Oh,
and
no.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Unfortunately is separated from the rest of the fight. Carlita taken down at the hands of Maxine, has Lavender succeeding in our last game, and it is important for all these teams to place as high as possible in this last game of the day. This will have playoffs implications for them in the standings of the league as a whole. Capybara getting a little bit aggressive right now to try and push themselves up a little further in those same standings. They've got Tiando and Ellie both very, very low right now, but you've got the pressure onto Lavender. Just one other squad needs to come in and help out, and nobody seems interested.
Yeah, they're holding back right now. After the aggression on that top side, it gave some opportunities on the other side of Stormcatcher for some teams to maneuver out of their positions, but not entirely. Ellie in a little bit of a rough scenario here as Maxine pokes around, and that will be now 2 people down. Maxine has to try and heal, but no real cover here. Shields will get popped. Emery is now also in the same scenario, as Crestep and Pretty Bond Girl over on that top side, putting a lot of pressure down from multiple sides. How did UTFT get over here?
They literally just walked it in. Everybody from aggro walked away, and UTFT stepped on top of the building, and just did it. That is the amount of resistance that they encountered. Literally nothing. I didn't even say a team name. They just walked onto this building, and now UTFT get the opportunity to farm up all of these kills that have just moved out from Stormcatcher that should continue to pull towards this building. The biggest threat to UTFT? The squad right below them, the Night Sisters.
Absolutely. From a positioning standpoint, that's definitely true. Crestep now trying to go for some peaks here, but not going to be able to do that. Nice Girls, definitely not a team to be trifled with, though. They can make a lot out of nothing, but it is not consistent is the problem. So we'll see if they can make it work right now. They have a small rock to work with, and we're seeing those mobile respawns come down. Extra cover for their team. See if they can maneuver themselves into a better position.
Only these 4 teams left. The last win of the day for some of these teams, maybe their last win of the season. If they can make it happen now, it's only 6 more games before we move into playoffs. Not everybody's going to make it. And here, you've got to make the argument why your team should be in the playoffs. Nice Girls may not even make it through this ring. Here comes the res. Molvana gonna get picked up, maybe even re-knocked, just barely alive.
Oh,
the shield that's coming in. Out goes that not Arcstar, the Ash Q to keep everyone at bay for now. Tether does land out in the open, and Lavender, they go out first. UTFT picking up some of those kills. Nice Girls get the opportunity to move into just this little bit of cover around the edge. Top 3 teams, Nice Girls still the ones looking from the outside in onto Night Sisters and UTFT, but they are eating nades.
Yeah, Molvana, I think, did go down there. So they do lose out on one, but UTFT, they are starting to move around. Yeah, this is so rough here. I don't think they're going to be able to get their teammate back up. Now they are going to just have to play the knockdown shield. And they're going to have to climb up here very soon. Ixvana does go down, and now Adil is also in trouble there. But in the meantime, they do get their teammate up. Molvana is up, and now we see that Nice Girls is in a position to try and win this.
Bond Girl on the flank, Bond Girl on the flank, she takes down 2! It's gonna be Nice Girls coming around the side! It is gonna be Pretty Bond Girl that changes the game for them, as Night Sisters just could not hold a candle to this end game.
Oh my god! I am in awe. We mentioned it before it happened. Nice Girls can make a lot out of nothing. They got the right role here. Wow. They got the opportunity. The fact that they got Molvana back up for that final fight is incredible. Nice Girls will pull out the 20 points here. At VSK, they get 9, but if I remember right, they were down 10. And the fact that they do not get the points needed is a travesty, because they were in position to pull themselves into that top spot.
Yeah, literally VSK, I mean, some of the most kills in the lobby, considering how low they placed, it's even more impressive, but the survivability of Veneer has to be called out as well. 2 placement points pushes them to 60 points total on the day, something that I don't think anyone else is able to touch. We'll get that confirmed by the overall leaderboards shortly, but Veneer having one heck of a day. Do deny EOS the win, I think. Well, that's not the most important narrative to some people. Keeping days away from EOS, that's a good news story in my book.
And I predicted correctly.
Hey, you did. Oh my god. Oh my god.
You
right.
asked if I wanted to change
Tessa.
it.
Oh my god. Tessa. You're so big brain, actually. Like, oh my god. I thank you for that. That little incy bit of narrative. 60 points on the day go to Veneer as Tessa's prediction gobstomps everyone.
You say that like
Veneer,
it was a
take
hard
it away.
prediction.
No, it was awesome. I'm really happy about it. 60 points means that they take the win. JSA though 58, a lot closer than I'd given it credit for. Still barely don't make it above Veneer. Decent placement for the playoffs as well, though. VSK right below them, UTFT and Nice Girls with that win slot them into the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, UTFT and Nice Girls at the end of the day really stepped up. So credit where it is due. Nice Girls
Hmm.
getting 40 points with 13 kills is impressive. Like
Hmm.
they did a great job getting some really nice late game fights. We saw them win two final games there on Storm Point, which just catapulted them up. UTFT also winning one of the Storm Point games as well. Like obviously Nice Girls in UTFT, they have that capability to make Storm Point maps work for them. And while it's stressful to go into the back half and need those points, they did it today.
Hmm. I'm really impressed with the way that these teams are performing under pressure because that's what the last 2 days of the season are really all about. They're preparing you for the playoffs, and right when your season could end, these teams are showing that they've got what it takes to keep not only surviving, but to use the phrase that I used in, I believe it was game number 6 of the day, thriving
Mhm.
towards the end of the season, pushing themselves that much further, becoming even better. As we've seen these teams improve throughout the course of the season, they're going to get to show us all of that in playoffs. Of course, there are some teams that coming away from today, we're going to be looking back on it, wishing that they could do a little better. And we're seeing them right now. The bottom 10, while still okay for some squads that have managed to place consistently throughout the season, is not the goal. And a lot of teams are going to be going back to the drawing board for how to make this up in the last week of the season.
Credit where it's due, like getting close to or above 30 points usually does get you up to a like top 10 finish. So
Hmm.
it's a little disappointing because there was a very wide point spread this week, but like to have this, like, even if you are placed low this week, I think overall you can be proud of a lot of these teams today can be proud of the performance that they gave because they almost all had their opportunity. We even had Night Sisters who had not any points, I think, going into this game. They did great. They got late game ring potential and they played it very well to get themselves a lot of placement points.
It really did. I was impressed with it, and I'm glad that we've got to see these squads grow once more. We are going to be going into finals very shortly. There's going to be no tournament next week on the 20th. Instead, we'll be back on December 27th. That is the time that you can tune right back in here at the Celestial Cup to see your favorite teams perform once again. I have been Dia. This has been Tessa. We have been on the Celestial Cup, and it has been a joy to bring these teams to you. We'll see you next time.
Respawn. Because I did run into a time where I was like, oh, they picked up banner. Do they have a mobile respawn? And I couldn't tell. It's a minor thing. It's very hard because there's a lot of things to try and show um, on a very small amount of relatively screen real estate. Mhm.